All right. Looks like we're up and running. Good morning, guys. Good morning in chat. Today's going to be a big day. It's CPI day at a 7:30. We've got roughly 32 minutes before we find out what's happening with CPI. I think it's going to be a big deal. I think that what Doge is doing to help out with our national debt is a big deal. And I think CPI is going down, but there is seasonality in regards to it. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to listen to Mr. Siegel. I saw Joey Lonsdale, or Joe Lonsdale, I don't know if he likes Joey, talking to on CNBC just now. And I want to hear that because I love the man and I think he's brilliant within the defense space and really just government in general. We've got Real Meat Kevin. His ETF pricing power, his little PP is going to get liquidated. So pretty crazy. This just shows this is an investment basics right here, guys. Don't follow people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And this guy's been talking a lot of shit about Tesla again too. It's completely worthless. Don't listen to him. Morning, Jesse, M2M community from Sydney, Australia. What's up, Stevie? How you doing, bro? So there's a lot going on today. We're going to cover all of it. I want to start off though. So again, my view on CPI. Let's just hop over here real quick. My view on CPI is that it will come in lower. I'm leaning towards the fund strat side of the camp because I think he's pretty good at keeping track of seasonality as well. And we're seeing a lot of really strong support zones. If you look in the bottom right where Bitcoin is, you'll see it just keeps riding that downward resistance or that downward resistance line, establishing support, and has been for weeks. Since the beginning of February, it's been riding that line, even going back into January. So I do think and that's indicative of a lot of charts. There's a lot of charts that seem to be finding key levels of support, especially in the Bitcoin and crypto worlds, even though the altcoin market has just been butchered. And I think what's going to happen is we'll see a lower CPI. If we see a lower CPI, that's great because that will actually lead us towards, maybe the Fed is wrong, maybe all this hawkishness is wrong, and maybe we should start cutting rates. Not that the short and Fed fund rate really matters that much because I think what Doge and Trump are going to be doing with increasing growth and reducing debt is going to help the long end of the curve. And that's what really matters. That's what matters with mortgages, what matters with refinancing and car loans. And it's going to be the more impactful part of the economy because the Fed lost control of the rate, right? Like they lost control. The 10, 20, 30 years, they all let the Fed know, we don't give a fuck about what you say. We're going in whatever direction we think is right. So it's really about paying off debt. I think that's the big deal. Morning all, woke up to a snowstorm in mid-America that all the FUD in the news warned us about. 3 inches. Oh my. Oof, watch out, dude. That sounds pretty scary. A whole 3 inches. Most women wouldn't be satisfied with that amount, but let's keep going. So again, 7:30 inflation data. We do have some mortgage related data. Let's just look at it. We do see mortgage rates coming down by 0.02%. So it's not a great number, but it's the direction that we want to see it going in, right? Like we were down here at 6.13, getting ready to cross into the fives. And admittedly, at that time, I thought we were going to, but I didn't realize bond vigilantes and just the bond market as a whole was going to be more focused on inflation being a major concern. But it's really not. Because if we look over here at Trueflation, we can see that Trueflation shows since December. And again, we used to use this all the time back in the day. I used to use this a lot. And you could see where it was in the threes, but it's falling off a cliff now and into the twos. Somebody asked about what made this up. Like, what is this composed of? I could show you that real quick. So food and beverage is not what's going down. Housing, other lodging, and rented dwellings are the ones that have started to roll over. And again, we saw the new rents report that shows it's really, really bad. So this will just continue to go lower and lower. And this is important because housing is 23.2% of the inflation index. Food and beverage, 15.3. Let's look at transport. Transport, we're seeing gasoline, fuels, and motor oil prices going down. We're seeing total transport being dragged down. We're seeing vehicle purchases, net outlay getting dragged down. We're seeing public and other transportation getting dragged down. So transportation as a whole is starting to fall. And that makes up almost 20%. So just between housing and this, we're looking at 42% of the overall like inflation related index, and they're rolling over. We got utilities. So natural gas was really peaking in the end of December, and now it's falling off a cliff. Now, again, one thing to remember though, let's just go back up the truck here a little bit in regard to the CPI. This is for January, but if we're looking at trueflation, that's what it's telling us, right? Like it's telling us, I mean, here's January 21st and again near the end. And so we're right about here. So we're already seeing a drop in natural gas prices. We weren't really seeing it yet in electricity, but we're seeing it. And health had a drop from December to January. And again, so if you look at all these household and daily items, look at this. It's all falling. It's all falling, and I think one of the biggest factors is going to be like rents and housing. We're going to see that stuff dropping substantially. Alex Garcia, Jesse, global liquidity up almost 2% year to date. Will continue increasing this year. It depends on how you're measuring global liquidity. It is up. I have to see what Michael Howell has said recently. He's actually been focusing on like stable coins and the long end of the bond market, and a little bit less on the global liquidity beating drum and more about like how we're going to service our debts at the end of the year and whether or not stable coins are going to be effective and increasing treasury sales and just a lot of other stuff. But yeah, M2 looks like it's growing. Christina Curley, but that's only one part of the metric. Haha, just got my home insurance renewal policy. Scared to look. Located in Florida. Yeah, that would be scary. Kirby AI, morning, y'all. Steak and eggs, 451 people. Smash the like. Dario, why is Tesla bearish market right now? Many people have lost their gains. Yeah, so good question. So it's a lot, right? A lot of it is just a negative narrative towards Elon Musk. You're hearing nobodies in Canada talk about 100% tariffs against Tesla vehicles specifically. They're talking about removing the benefits to that in their programs that they have for renewable cars, removing the benefits towards Tesla specifically. You're hearing people saying, "Oh, what happens if China weaponizes against Tesla?" I really don't think that matters much. But you're hearing a lot of negative narratives around that and how liberals aren't going to buy cars anymore, how people in Europe aren't buying Teslas anymore, how people in California aren't buying. So it's just a bunch of really negative narratives around Elon Musk, I think, is the bulk of it. But the signal is all of the people raising their price targets into the 400s. So if you're not paying attention to it, we'll be going over some of that in a little bit here. It's very important to listen to that. And real quickly, I'll just show the charts. We can jump off Tesla and get back to the other stuff. So again, I said that we could keep dropping. It would have been nice if it held here on the line. It did not. We're above peak volumes, at least on this local time frame, going back several months, half a year, and like right here, we dropped underneath. And I think we could still go down to 314 pretty easily. I think there's a chance that we go into the 270s or even the 260s. If you zoom out on this thing, it can drop hard. Now, will it? Does it have to? Fuck no, it doesn't. It doesn't have to. It's already dropped. It right now where we're sitting, it's down 31%. It already dropped technically by almost 33%. But could it go lower? If we look at overall volumes here, this is again like the history, right, of this price range for the entirety of Tesla. And you could see that the lower we drop, like if we got to this fib, the .5 here at the 314, I'll probably throw at least another six figures towards Tesla calls. Because the more we drop, the volume just gets thicker and thicker and thicker, and it becomes impossible to really penetrate much lower. It will springboard off of this. But this could be considered the back test of this previous resistance zone that we never really got. And I said after we broke out of it, like, guys, there's a chance we back test. We didn't do that right away, right? We went from 250 up to 486 or something. So this was beyond what I was expecting for the measured move. Let's just look here real quick and then we'll move on. So the measured move that I was excited about and thinking that we were going to incur was something along the lines of this. You could maybe weight it a little bit differently. But I thought, I was like, hey guys, we could get up to the 380s, maybe even the 400 range. And we blew past that, which is why when we got up here, I exited out of my calls completely and switched over to stock and delevered. I understand people are feeling pain, but I do think that this is temporary. I can tell you, I bought, again, I hate to just repeat this because it sounds like a broken record, but I bought here, right? I bought down here, right? That's when I originally got into Tesla. Sold it too quickly because I didn't think it would go up 34x in a very short period of time in 2 years. I didn't think that was possible. Yeah, everybody was so negative over here. But so I didn't get its full ride. I wish some of my portfolio did, but I wish more of it would have. But I bought hard down here with calls, and I bought hard down here with calls. And Tesla's been one of my most successful investments. And I think that, again, can we go back here? Can we close some of these gaps on the left? Like right over here, we have a gap all the way down to 216. I doubt it. But there's one up here in the 250s range, 240 to 250. Maybe we close that one just as a back test of this before we go higher. It's very possible. So I think just be prepared mentally for all possibilities and realize that fundamentally this company is doing really, really great and none of this shit matters. None of it matters. There's a post that I want to talk to you that goes over that really, really well. I'll hit that real quick too before we move on. Just one second. Some of you might have already seen this post because it's so good. It's so good. And I feel the exact same way about it. Oh, so real quickly, right here, let's talk about this though. Banana 3 Stocks wanted to point out something that I think is a good point. He said on the hourly, the RSI is at 14. This is the lowest in years. The third lowest since the bear market bottom of 2023. Every single one led to major rallies, every single one. So he's saying essentially we've, at least on the hourly time frame, we've had a precipitous drop and we can go higher. I agree with that. And again, we have stuff like this. Benchmark initiates a Tesla buy with a 475 price target. There's tons of that, right? Waymo, look at this. Holmar's catalog. 82% of Waymo's autonomous miles in California were human supervised in 2024, according to data released by the state of California. So how much of it included human intervention? And they can only do these HD map zones. It's really pathetic, honestly. And Sawyer Merritt has a really good point here. He said, here's Tesla stock performance over the last 3 months, even though people might be scared. Up 6%, 6 months, 66, 1 year, 75, 2 years, 69, 3 years, 15. So again, painful. 5 years, 447, 10 years, 2,200% since IPO, 24,000. So I think you have to dial out. And here's Holmars making fun of Waymo. He said, we just added a few more blocks to our service area. Tesla, we just added 2 more countries. Biatch. I mean, look at this tiny little zone, dude. What the fuck is this even? And then, again, focus on the big picture. Tesla just produced over 1,500 Powerwall 3s in a 24-hour period, up 50% from their previous peak 3 months ago. 1 quarter. In 1 quarter, they've increased their productivity by 50%. And now we have a Megapack factory in China that just started. For fuck's sake, that's the signal. Let me see what else. I'm going to skip this part. Oh, this is a good argument too, guys, talking about how Elon's playing chess with this OpenAI thing. Remind me to look at this later. I'm trying to see if I have this other post. It's really good. I'll try and find it later. We've got other stuff to talk about. So anyway, CPI coming out in 20 minutes. Let's listen to Jeremy Siegel talk about his interpretation. He believes that CPI will not be important and lists his reasons why. Let's listen.
I get it.
We want to bring in a regular guest who's got something special going on today. This is Jeremy the Eagle Siegel, Professor Emeritus of Finance at University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School of Business, Chief Economist at Wisdom Tree.
I actually like Jeremy Siegel.
Congratulations, Jeremy.
A lot. He's
huge
a good
win
dude.
for the Eagles, and man, was that decisive.
Absolutely. I think the MVP should be given to the defense. I don't want to take away from Jalen Hurts. He did great, but wow, what a smackdown.
Unbelievable.
There was nothing that Mahomes could do, and to see him flustered like that, that is...
I've never seen that before.
Me neither.
I'm not worried about the OpenAI deal. I'm really not. And I think his consortium, he can pull from so many different companies, and he has so much money right now. I think the last thing he would want to do is hurt the Tesla people too much. But it is a risk. It's a potential risk. I think it's lower. People are talking about Kimball Musk selling shares and just how they're selling, and how Kevin said how he's good at finding the local tops. I don't know. There's a lot of noise right now. But if you have a long-term vision on Tesla, I think it's just noise.
Me neither.
And again, I've got a series of good posts that we'll talk about later.
That was something. Anyway, congratulations. And
Michael Saylor posted. What did he post? 1 second. I got to see this before we get down the Jeremy Siegel road. And we might end up saving Joe Lonsdale for after CPI data. He might be an icing on the cake. Let's go. Haha. Fuck yeah, bro. I love that image, by the way. 1 sec. I'm going to put that out there. I don't know if you guys saw Metaplanet. We'll look at it right now. Metaplanet, I think, is just telegraphing what's going to happen again with microstrategy. I mean, look at this. It's hitting new highs. It's going through the fucking roof. This thing in October was about 900, and today it's 6,700. So I think a lot of good things are getting ready to happen. You got to be patient. Let's listen to Jeremy Siegel.
I get it. The hat, I'd probably wear that all year myself. Professor Siegel, let's try and figure out what's happening in the markets. We spoke earlier this morning, and Joe made this point that he's feeling unsettled by all this, not knowing, feeling a little rudderless, I think was the term you used,
yes.
Joe, and I think that's fair. There's so many things that we're waiting to see, not knowing exactly how things are going to play out with policy from Washington, with tariffs potentially. How do you look at all of this and try and figure out what to do with the stock market?
Yeah. And I think the CPI in an hour is going to be one of the least impactful that we've had over the last 12 months. First of all, I don't think it's going to be a great one. There's seasonal biases that push up the January, so I think it's going to be at or maybe one tick above. Secondly, we have a whole new monthly cycle of data before the FOMC meeting on March 19th. So, it's always the latest one next month that tends to count. And truthfully, I think that the market is now, more concerned about tariffs than the CPI. I mean, they're sort of reconciled to, hey, maybe one cut, maybe not. I mean, that.
Yeah, but I don't think that's accurate. So maybe one cut, maybe not. But if CPI data shows that inflation isn't as big of a deal, I'm still going to argue. I'm looking at the fucking 10-year right now. Let me pull this up. So I just got to speak to this. This is crazy to me because I love Siegel. I think he's brilliant. But yesterday we were up on the 10-year, and today we're up 0.04%. This thing wants to roll over. If this starts to roll over, then all of a sudden it looks like Doge is working. It looks like we don't have inflation concerns. It looks like we're going to be able to refinance our debt, our $8 to $9 trillion in debt at the end of the year. It looks like everything is a lot more sustainable. So this is going to be probably the one rare time where I disagree with Siegel. And I think that the inflation data, despite potential seasonality, just if Truflation is right, is going to break down. If Fundstrat is right, it's going to break down today. And if that happens, I think it's going to be a lot more impactful than he's representing right now. But let's listen to the rest of what he has to say.
The whole thing about 4 cuts is down. I know Citibank has called for that, but I think you're only going to get 4 or 5 cuts, 6 cuts if you're going to get some really weak economic news. And I don't see that. A second thing, of course, that's coming up is again the shutdown of the government. Trump has to get all the Republicans on board. The Dems are all going to vote against it. So, he has to line all those up. So I think, that's factor one. But I think, the question of whether the tariffs are going to be reimposed and at what level and what kind of level of retaliation, I would put that as number one. And I'd put the question of getting everyone in line. I think there'll be another continuing resolution because until they get the omnibus bill put up and passed, but they need to fight for that. And then, of course, looking at that data. But again, we have 6 weeks until the meeting.
I do agree, like the government shutdown narrative, but I also showed you guys charts on how the government shutdown could actually be beneficial because it lowers our spending and might actually work out pretty good for the Trump administration after an initial hit. So I'm less worried about the government shutdown. It could be impactful. I do think that tariffs are a curveball here. I'm hearing way too many people, pundits on CNBC, say that tariffs aren't going to be a big deal and they're not really going to be targeted. I disagree with that 100%. Oh, and by the way, it looks like we have Speaker Kevin McCarthy talking right now, too. We might jump to him before we look at Joe Lonsdale later. We got 14 minutes or 13 minutes until we get very important CPI data.
So if you're looking at positive factors, I guess it's still Doge and the regulatory changes that have been brought by it. How much of that has already been factored in?
I think Doge is exciting. I mean, actually, I think I think the market is looking very positively and surprisingly how much they think could be done under Musk. I mean, look what he did to Tesla. I mean, he had saved costs that virtually no.
Yeah, see, I like Jeremy Siegel. He's an honest person. There's some people saying like what Doge is doing is not going to be impactful in any way. They're just fucking idiots.
No expert thought was possible. And they gave him that mega pay package that they never thought they'd have to pay, and he made it. So he would be the man to do it, and I think there's excitement about that. But then again, I mean, how much you're going to save, and what is that? Trump wants to take taxes off of Social Security, off of tips. He talked about making the SALT deductions again full. I mean, that's trillions of dollars. So you need to come through on some other side.
Yeah, see, this is where I disagree with Siegel, and he's weathered and has a lot of experience, but I disagree. I think actually the amount of growth that you're going to create is going to easily offset the reduction in tax revenue. And it's okay. It's okay, especially when you're looking at, eliminating over $1 trillion worth of additional deficit. I think the growth will come from doing all these things. You want people to spend. When they spend, you get more tax revenue. And if you give them the ability to be able to make more money with harder levels of work, or make more money by not taxing Social Security, this is the dumbest fucking thing ever, I think you're going to benefit a lot of people.
To get that passed, that's going to be a tough nut to crack. But I think those are the things swirling around. How do we position politically? We got to get the continuing resolution. Then we get an omnibus bill that includes border security, immigration, and the tax cut extension, plus some other tax cuts. I think the 2017 tax cuts by themselves is easy to get through. I think everything else is going to be harder, and that's where the fight is going to be.
So, Jeremy, we had someone say 125 basis point cuts. I don't know about that, but are you counting on any multiple expansion? And if not, we're not cheap, and that might not be a reason to stay out of the market that we're not cheap. But what do you say? Are we at 22 times earnings? What would you say? 22?
Yeah, we're at 20. We're 22.
So, anything we get, any advance we get, is going to be from earnings growing. Is there a reason to think that the environment we're in would allow companies to grow at 10 or 15% this year?
Yeah. Well, we have these two markets. We have the Mag 7, which is Tesla is selling for 30, 35. And then we have the other 493 stocks that are selling more towards 19, which is, to me, very reasonable. I've often talking about 20 as an equilibrium PE. So really, it depends on what happens to that section. We had DeepSeek. We had that BYD announcement putting pressure, I think, on Tesla. Is that sector?
Yes, he's talking about shit he doesn't know right now. DeepSeek is not putting pressure on Tesla. But this is what happened. I mean, they ask you all kinds of questions, and you got to fill it in with your knowledge, and everybody has knowledge gaps, right? Let's real quickly jump over here again. So again, 730 core inflation rate, CPI, just a lot of stuff all coming in at once. But like I said earlier, so the mortgage rate's starting to come down. Mortgage applications were 2.32% or 2.3% versus 2.2%. These things are just waiting for an opportunity to go higher. People want to refi. They just want to see rates coming down at all. Mortgage market index, if you look here, is actually still in an uptick. We're still in an uptick. Highest level right now, guys, since October 2024. So we're still in an uptick. We want to go higher. The mortgage market wants to go higher. We just had the last series of Fed rate cuts that sent the 10-year in the opposite direction, and we want to climb back from that. So, but I think that's gonna start happening as soon as people realize that inflation is rolling over. And like I said earlier, when we looked at the true inflation data, it's all rolling over. It's all rolling over, and it's going to be very beneficial for us. Let's real quickly here. I do want to jump. I want to see what Kevin McCarthy had to say. So I might just jump a little bit here because we can listen to Joe later, Joe Lonsdale. But I want to hear this because this might be timely. And he's not a complete moron like some people in politics. Let's go back. Budget. So we're talking about the bills that he's trying to get passed. So let's look here. People are like, DeepSeek can combine with BYD. So what? BYD is, here's the thing. I wouldn't trust anything BYD has about their Eye of God AI self-driving system. I think they're trying to do a fundraiser because they're getting ready to go bankrupt. People just don't seem to understand how bad China's economy is. And there's literally a bunch of people from China. There was Jeff Lutz in the Tesla community talking about how China, BYD and companies like it have an insane amount of supply sitting in foreign markets right now, and how they haven't paid suppliers in months and months and months. I think in some cases it was 9 fucking months. BYD is probably going bankrupt. What they're trying to do is steal your money right now with promises they'll never keep. Smart. People in Hong Kong are smart. They should be 90% Teslas. All right, let me see here.
Bill's joining us now, former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. He is now chairman of the Alpha Institute. What do we call you now, Kevin?
Watch out for David Tepper, because he's brilliant, but he could have been in for a very short time and he could already be out. So people just have to watch out. Like these guys, when they tell you what's going on, they'll report when they absolutely have to, and they could be out of a trade for a month or two before the regular market finds out about it. So just remember that. Kevin,
I guess. Yeah, you Kevin. How you doing, Kevin?
I'm doing well.
Very good. Trying to think of how to get into this. It's interesting that the House seems to be kind of solid. The Senate seems to be solid, but they want to do different things.
Today.
You know, one wants a wall, the other one wants tax cuts.
Maybe people are optimistic about the CPI, unlike Jeremy Siegel.
But on the party itself, Kevin, think about the nominees that are going to get in.
I don't know if I'd say pumping.
That's a reflection of, I think,
baby
Trump's hold over the Republican. Only one guy didn't get in. We don't need to mention any names. I know you'd probably like to. But only one of the nominees probably isn't going to make it. Does that mean that the House is solid under whatever we try, the Republicans try to do here? Are they solid? Is there not going to be one of those one of those Freedom Caucus revolts?
No, I think what you have to read is President Trump is stronger than he's ever been, not just in the Republican Party, but with America itself. He's.
I want to say something real quick to this. And there was a great interview. Well, not an interview, but Trump and Elon and little baby X hanging out in the Oval Office yesterday, talking for half an hour. I retweeted it. You should check it out. It's amazing, just breaking down all this stuff. It's impossible for the Democrats to attack. But I want to say this. I actually think in a deliberate way that Elon is like, you know, that famous meme where you're like leaning over the bed and he's taking all the shots. I think Elon is that for Donald Trump. I think he is taking and absorbing all the abuse that Trump had, and Trump can sit, relax, and he can do the things that he needs to do. And he's got Elon, some of the most badass work ethic and brilliant person, helping facilitate a large amount of heavy lifting in order to be able to reduce expenses and do all these things, while he focuses on, you know, his geopolitical agenda, what he's trying to do with tariffs, trying to, you know, get people to buy our bonds, trying to get it to where we're paying less for military support, trying to end wars. And he's being very effective. They're both doing a great job. I don't think there's enough credit going to the fact that the media right now is attacking Elon and they're ignoring Trump. They're like, President Elon, this is great. This is fucking great.
He's bringing independents and Democrats along because he's doing exactly what he said he would do and why he got elected. The real MVP up on the Hill, though, is the Senate. And I got to give a lot of credit to John Thune. Think about this. They've been able to do all these confirmations, even though the Democrats are putting up every roadblock. They're getting that done. And now they're going to mark up a budget reconciliation before the House. And the House isn't even agreed to whether this could come out. I think the chairman of Ways and Means, Jason Smith, is right. Doing one bill would be the best way to go forward. But I'm interested to see this number that comes out of the budget in the House. If they're really marking to $4.5 trillion, that means you're not even doing the full tax bill as it is today for another 10 years. That's not including SALT. That's not taking away tax on tips or overtime, the things that President Trump wants. And I know at the end of the day, the president's going to get his way. So I'm not sure what the House has been doing this entire time. And then you got government funding coming up next month. So it seems as though they've wasted a lot of time. The Senate has used their time wisely, but I think Jason Smith, the chairman of Ways and Means, has been correct about this.
2.5 minutes on CPI.
How do you get there? What needs to? And it's a lot of sausage we're talking about that we're making here.
Well, just so the
Anthony,
viewers understand,
nice.
to be able to go to reconciliation, which allows you to pass this tax bill without 60 votes in the Senate, it's the strength of having the House and the Senate. Both chambers have to pass the same budget reconciliation bill. Right now, that's not the case.
Uber, people are
stupid. The Senate's going forward with a smaller one just to deal with the border, defense perspective, and then the House wants to be able to deal with the tax bill. Just to keep the tax bill as we have now with no changes costs about $4.6 trillion. But if you add SALT, tax on tips, overtime, you're going to need about another trillion. But the House Budget Committee looks like they want to mark up to 4.5. So that would mean you're not doing the tax bill for another 10 years. You're not adding the president's request. There has to be a better direction here, while at the same time, what are we doing about government funding that's coming due on March 14th? And what are you doing about the debt ceiling? You'd like to get that out of the way so you could really focus on the reconciliation. But it doesn't seem that both are connected together, focusing on the same plan.
So how do you handicap
1 minute.
it? I mean, will there be one bill, and who needs to talk to whom, and who needs to come to Jesus? Who needs that moment?
Well, I think the entire House has to be in one place. For the House's strength, as you're sitting here talking, whether it can pass the House, that answers the question whether you need one bill or not. Because if it's so hard to pass something like this that the president wants, how can you do this 2 times? It's very difficult. So you'd want to get it all done in one bill, which you can do, but it doesn't look like that number is coming out of the budget. So the House doesn't look like they're in the right place. The Senate has another plan because they don't want to wait around for the House because they've waited this amount of time and they haven't done anything. The Senate has been doing confirmations, so they're going to move on a reconciliation plan that takes up.
All right, we'll listen to more of that in a second. Let's get ready here. Let's keep an eye on markets. Watch that ticker down in the corner. SMCI, yeah, I heard they revised their guidance lower. I don't know why they're bouncing now. Maybe they actually have like audit data, or they're going to report on time. I don't know. All right, let's see here. CPI, okay, 3%. Core inflation rate 3.3%. Let me get some of this shit out of my way. So that's higher than expected. Fuck. So that could be seasonality. I don't know how the market's going to react to it. Bitcoin's down. So yeah, 0.2% higher for core inflation year over year. Inflation rate 3%, 0.1% higher than the consensus and forecast. So this is going to suck. This is probably going to suck, but it's not horrible, but it's probably not going to help today. So very happy that I have another 6 figures sitting around waiting to buy some dips. I don't know if we're wrecked. Because we still have really strong support zones, but yeah, Adam said that. But it's not a great number. And again, so Jeremy Siegel was right. So we got to listen to Jeremy Siegel in the future. Oh, hey, we do have, let's hop over here real quick too. Real quickly, we're going to jump out of this. I can get back to this later. I want to listen to Rick Santelli and see what kind of revisions we have. Here, one sec.
Their tech. Here. When their tech shows up in, pick a car, might be a Volkswagen, might be a BMW, might be a, we also add operation business.
All right, Tesla. Past you.
Technologies when it comes to self-driving.
Futures are taking.
All right, futures are tanking.
Yes, hot data. We look at yields moving up, pre-opening equities moving down. January read on
yields
CPI
jump 1.67%. I'm probably buying TLT today.
We're looking for up 0.3 in the rearview mirror, up 0.4. And I do caution, there's annual revisions coming out, so some of my comps may change. But at this point, to find a higher number than 0.5, you're going all the way back to June of 22. We've had plenty of 0.5s. But that's where the higher number is. And if we strip out the all-important food and energy, also hotter, up 0.4, double what's in the rearview mirror, equals several occasions, but the highest number, to be a higher number, 0.5, would be April of 23. If we look at the year-over-year data, up 3% on the headline year-over-year, 1/10 hotter than both front and back. And if we look at 3.0, it would be the warmest going back to May of 24. Now let's look at year over year and strip out the all-important food and energy. Also hotter, 3.3. We're looking for 3.1. Rear view mirrors 3.2. To find a higher number, you're going to May of 24. On the indexes, remember, these go back quite a ways. And are we making new highs here? Yes. New high, 317.67 on the non-seasonally adjusted. If we look at core, 324.74, also a new high. There's never been higher indices on either headline or core. And I also would like to throw a little water on the conventional wisdom that January is this big, important reset. I looked at 21, 22, 23, and 24, 4 years post-COVID, and maybe one time in every synopsis, so whether it's headline, year over year, was January the highest. There was many where it was equal to other months, but predominantly we saw many February and Marches that were higher. So the reset, I don't know that I buy into it, but in either case, if there are resets, this month certainly looks like one. Back to you.
Rick, stay with us. Let's very quickly look through these boards again. As Rick was pointing out, we looked at the equities tank. You're now looking at the Dow futures off by about 400 points, just over 400 points.
Yeah, so I'm probably going to put at least
S&P
50K
futures are down by 57.
on open
NASDAQ indicated down by more than 220 points. If you've been watching Treasuries, we did see a very significant tick up in Treasuries as well. The 10-year, which was trading, I think, at about 453 this morning when we started, so all the way up to 461. The 2-years at 437.
It will be down on this
movement.
I'll explain why.
For more on this information is Priya Misra. She is the fixed income portfolio.
The TLT bet, guys, is that inflation comes down, okay? So if we just got a read that was hotter today, it will not do well, okay? So that's why it's down 1% today. So but I'm telling you, inflation is rolling over. If we'll have to dig through the data. It probably is some seasonality bullshit, but it will come down, and this will be the thing that you want to own.
Portfolio manager at JP Morgan Asset Management. Drew Mattis is the head of global economic and market strategy team at MetLife Investment Management.
It's going to be a sign
start
of what's
with you.
to come.
Markets,
it literally led the market last time.
No, the focus was going to be on the core year over year. 3.2 would have been bad. And what we got was worse, right? So, it's really disappointing news for the Fed that they were hoping for continued deceleration. It's disappointing for the market because they're hoping for continued deceleration. And the fact that this is a January number and doesn't include any potential, tariff impact yet, means that, the risk going forward is for potentially higher inflation.
It comes just after Donald Trump put out on Truth Social the idea that the Fed should be lowering rates to go along with the tariffs that we could be at this time. This puts the Fed in a pretty tight box. It's hard-pressed for them to be able to lower rates at this point.
Well, it does. I mean, you need to, they shouldn't have been lowering rates in the first place. So they kind of got themselves into a box. They tried to get in front of things heading into the election, and they went a little too far too fast. And then they continued easing even when...
All right, I'm going to interrupt him for a sec. So there's always narratives that can prevail for a period of time. But again, I just want to point this out. Trueflation, which led, and I don't even know if I have like full data points. I don't know if this is just I think this view, I can look at the index, but I don't think they give me the full view for the composite, like the actual, or the composition, the full breakdown. But I was telling people that since, back in here, that Trueflation was showing that inflation was coming down hard. And there's a lag in this number. And it's probably just because the Fed is incredibly fucking slow. And it's backwards looking data. But there was a lag in this number. But you could see the steepness of the fall. And eventually we got there and the market caught up with it. That is the same thing that is happening right now. Trueflation does not have this sitting high. Again, we looked at new rents. It shows they're rolling over. I'm still with Tom Lee. Maybe it's not this read. Maybe it's in February. But I'm 100% with him that inflation is not the concern right now. Again, we looked at industrial production yesterday for Mexico, and they're falling off a cliff. These tariffs aren't going to cause inflation. If anything, they could slow down spending. So I'm in a completely different camp than all this. It can look like I'm wrong today, but I'm not wrong. I'm sorry, I'm just not. And this will come around. Let's listen to the rest of what they have to say.
You know, everything should have been telling them that they should have been stopping.
This is that nascent inflation that we were worried.
Spark is toasted. It could be.
You know, in the back of our minds, we were
your
worried
entire
that it
clean
was still
spark
there.
in July calls now? Yes, it is.
What we're seeing right now. This
Yeah,
is like
I'm
our
okay
worst
with it turning to dust.
nightmare coming true. We didn't do anything. We didn't do any tariffs yet. This was already coming, wasn't it?
But what I would say is
I
the
wouldn't
last
say they're
mile
political.
of inflation. There's some research that's hard.
I mean, we got to see the breakdown.
Last mile is hard.
8-9% on inflation to 3%.
But we're going back up. We're not going.
Well, I think, you know, January.
It's now a mile and a quarter. It's now a mile and a quarter.
You can sell.
So
I'm not
there
selling
is this,
shit.
Seasonal aspect of the
selling
start of the
anything.
year. You know, the first quarter has been high.
buying.
I think there's some of that. Look at the totality of inflation. PCE.
course, I'm buying my
PCE
hedge.
is heading lower. I look at wages. Wages are showing you some signs that it's decelerating. I think the Fed is going to be on hold. I completely agree with you. And I think we're going to watch the data. But I would say for the Treasury market, one of the reasons we got to that 480 was talk of fiscal stimulus. I mean, there's this inflation fear. I hear you. And I think that's why the market's reacting today. What do we hear on taxes? Are we going to hear deficit finance tax cuts? We're going to go up a lot more in rates.
It actually went
down. We're not
down.
hearing that. We're hearing DOGE. We're hearing where are we cutting spending. We're hearing about offsets. I think that's what's going to contain the Treasury market beyond this inflation fear that I think is legit, and it's going to keep the Fed on hold.
Well, and the risk with inflation right now, and you're seeing it in the data, you're seeing it in consumer credit data for December, which was crazy, which is people are cutting their savings, they're boosting the amount of money they're borrowing in order to maintain their standard of living because inflation's kind of eroding their wages faster than they can keep up. And so there's a lot of pressure on consumers right now, and this just keeps the pressure on consumers, and it's a problem, and it's going to be a problem the Fed's going to have to address at some point.
It doesn't have to be the Fed. Maybe it could be Donald Trump making it to where they can work overtime and not be taxed on it. Maybe, again, overtime tax is fucking huge, guys. I don't know how many people have actually worked hourly wages in a while, but that in and of itself is huge. Removing Social Security taxes is huge. This all increases their ability to spend, and this is what we will be doing in the future. Again, maybe it takes a month or two. CPI's up. Yes, it was higher than expected. Core was 3.3, I want to say, versus an expected of 3.1%.
What I think you're seeing in the market response is the idea that not only are the Fed not going to be cutting, Scott, but it's only a very short step.
I think you could literally step away for a month, two, have a long vacation somewhere, come back, and be sitting in a really good place.
The idea that the Fed's going to have to reverse course.
That's what I was going to say, Rick. We spoke with Jeremy Siegel half an hour ago, and he had me convinced. I was going right along with this whole idea that the Fed is less important at this moment, that it's kind of on the back burner, and we're watching everything in Washington. But a number like this puts the Fed front and center again.
No, it doesn't.
Well,
what the fuck are you talking about?
The professor was saying on the back burner because Trump is going to take the front burner. That may or may not be correct. It's kind of a political statement. Joe's right. At this point, everything we're seeing is at the feet of the Fed, okay? And I'll tell you what, in many ways, the Fed hasn't done a really bad job. I think that, you know, there's no crystal ball here. And on some level, there is a reduction of debt when you have inflation. And when we talk about the policies of Trump, I know it's all going to be about the dark side, but let me tell you, if the average American's got any chance to keep up with these type of inflation rates, and it isn't only the net change. Now, if you go back to January, February of 2020, and you look at the cumulative compounded path of inflation, it's pretty rough on many people in the country. And the best way to help them out is to grow the economy. You cannot possibly contemplate the negative consequences of letting taxes go up at this point, in my opinion. I think it's all about trying to do growth. In terms of tariffs, listen, I'm no tariff expert. We haven't really gone and seen them have a front row seat yet. The data will.
Well, I mean, we did in 2016.
Will show some of these effects 2 or 3 or 4 months down the road. But at this point, it's pretty clear. Inflation is metastasized in the U.S. economy. We still have strong fumes of the overspending of the Biden administration. Now the real issue is with the Fed's target rate at 2%, and pretty much all the year-over-year data shows us that 3% is probably the new floor. We have to draw our own conclusions for how Fed policy will change. But I'll tell you this, I don't contemplate them moving rates much at all. So the other side of the professor's argument is correct, because I think you're going to see the yield curve steepen, and I think that all things being equal, the Fed's balance sheet's too big to get aggressive.
You'll probably get it.
Yeah, I think that was his point. He said that DOGE is doing a lot of really good things. We don't know what's going to happen with tariffs. DOGE, the markets love at this point. But his point was the Fed was not going to be the center of the action. But I think we have to watch this pretty closely. I think President Trump wants the Fed to be kind of going along with part of these issues. This just puts them in a box.
Yeah, it won't help Trump get the rate let down over the next.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. I'm not sure.
Here's the thing that doesn't matter. We don't even have another rate cut until March, right? CME, Fed Watch Tool. So just to be very clear, none of this matters right now. We still have the read coming out here. So yeah, March 19th. March 19th. So, and right now we have the chance of a rate cut at 2.5%. I don't even know if we get one in March. Maybe it's May. It doesn't really matter. What matters is the long end of the curve. The long end of the curve is up 2% today on the 10-year, which is not great at all. But this will be short-lived. This technical pattern is shit. And again, the bond market, with us reducing debts and making things more sustainable, maybe we need to get past the government shutdown. Maybe we need to get past the omnibus bill. Maybe those things need to happen first before we really get confidence like, hey, Doge is working. The government is still functioning, and we've got a bill that's going to be helping Americans. Maybe that's what it takes. Maybe it takes to get to that point before people are like, oh, shit, it looks like America's on a sustainable course. And just like that, green to red. Yeah, that's what the CPI does, man. Chicken Bro, Tesla likes the numbers. I don't know if it likes the numbers, but it's up 1.22%. So it's actually holding on pretty good, but it was down 6.34% yesterday. So I don't know how much you can actually say it likes the numbers, or it's just rebounding temporarily because of the fact that it was down so much yesterday. Pursuit of Code, don't bet against Elon and Trump along the TLT. I agree, man. That's probably where I'm putting my money today. TLT is down 1.37% after a 0.64% drop yesterday. I'm probably a buyer here. And let's just pull that up. So we're down here. Let me zoom out a longer time frame because bonds move so much slower. So we're sitting right here right now. And if we go out here, we're at the same levels on TLT that we were in August of 2002. So the bond market is sitting at complete distrust of the government's ability to be able to manage its finances and be able to repay its debts in the future. That's where we're at right now. So I don't think that's accurate in any way. And I think the government's ability to repay its debts is going to be very strong. So this is why I'm very willing to rebuy this, because I think there's a 35% upside, and this thing's running an 11x the underlying. So this is the thesis. So the thesis is that, back to Silas's question from earlier, the thesis is that Doge is impactful and going to get it to where we're able to burn away a large amount of our federal deficit, and that what Trump is going to do to be pro-growth, to lower taxes and make it to where people are able to spend money again. Because, again, my parents are on Social Security, that and me helping them out financially, right? So that's a struggle for them when they're getting taxed on that same revenue. They would have more spending power. And my mother-in-law has that same problem. They would have more spending power and be able to offset the inflation. They would feel more confident. They'd be more likely to spend. And with overtime, again, most people, they don't save. They just spend their money right away. If people have overtime and they can work 10, 20 hours a week extra overtime, maybe that they're not doing right now, and be able to increase their pay exponentially because they're not getting taxed at 50%, some kind of bullshit overtime tax rate, then they're going to work a lot more hours. I can tell you, I would have been one of those people. I was one of those people. Even when I was on salary, I was working 70 hours a week. So if you would have given me overtime, I would have chewed all that up and enjoyed the ramifications of that. And then again, removing taxes from waiters and waitresses too. So all these things are impactful. All of them are pro-growth. We're talking about, again, SALT tax extensions. We're talking about making it to where the corporate tax rate goes down. There's a lot of stuff that Trump's going to be putting in place. And I think his win record is going to be very high at the beginning of this year. We can already see some of that. I want to jump real quickly. I want to get back to some of this other stuff, these other talking points that I wanted to go through. Let me see something real quick. We might jump just for a second because there's this really good post from S&B Attorney about Tesla. Also, guys, note down in the corner, you can see that Bitcoin is still holding that line of support. that downward resistance line. It's still holding it even fucking now. Tyler Casamindi said the thesis is that we like the most manipulated stocks, unfortunately. It's not unfortunate to me. Pursuit of Code, Tesla is just bouncing from a 20% drop. Don't think the pain is over yet. It's a 32% drop. Scott Abate, thanks for putting the economy and the CPI numbers in perspective. I would be rattled and might have let my emotion control my action without your show today. That's what I'm here for, man. Again, I'm super confident about where we're going to be months from now and later in the year. I'm feeling really good about the fact, even if the world is falling apart, I think people are going to look at the U.S. and the money that's flowing into it from foreign businesses. Again, Japan promising, the prime minister promising $1 trillion. And then we have Saudi Arabia promising a bunch of money. We have SoftBank promising a bunch of money. We're going to have a lot of countries that are looking to invest in the United States because they don't want to deal with the tariff ramifications. And we're going to see a lot of companies in China that resettled in places like Canada, Mexico, and other parts of the world to try and avoid tariffs have to relocate again to the United States if they want to be able to avoid those tariffs. All these things will be impactful. But real quick here, and I'll try and get to more questions. S&P attorney, this is about Tesla. He said, what Elon Musk did in his $97 billion bid for OpenAI is genius. The previous go private price was $40 billion. He's playing chess. Here's why. Delaware courts applies something called the Revlon rule to M&A bidding situations. When a board decides to sell a company, their legal fiduciary duties shift to getting the highest price for shareholders. So he's offering them more than double what the previous price was. But OpenAI isn't a normal company. It started as a nonprofit, then created a for-profit arm, OpenAI LP, to raise investments. That structure creates legal gray areas. Musk's bid isn't just about buying OpenAI, it's about forcing a decision. If OpenAI's board even considers transitioning fully into a for-profit company, Musk's bid puts them in a position where they might have to apply Revlon rules, maximizing value just like any other corporate sale. It's a strategic move that could expose whether OpenAI is still mission-driven or if it's already just another big tech company playing Wall Street rules. And that's the real play. Musk is challenging OpenAI's leadership on both a legal and ethical level, testing whether their decisions align with their original vision or the financial incentives of investors like Microsoft. Sam Altman and OpenAI's board rejected Musk's offer outright, but that response raises more questions than it answers. You see, they probably have a duty to create a special committee, consider all offers, and entertain an auction, again, because of the Revlon rule. If AI isn't a company that can be bought, why did they take billions of dollars in investment? If they're a company that can be bought, why turn down $97 billion? Either way, Musk has put them in a position where they have to justify their existence, not just to him, but to the Delaware Chancery Court. So he's using the Delaware courts against them to try and force them to admit that they're a for-profit company. And again, he was one of their biggest original investors in here, so he could probably come after them in that case too. So it's very interesting. Let me see, though. We had more questions, I think, about TLT and other stuff. Let me see what we have. Hey, Jesse. Crunchy Crunch. Hey, Jesse, I'm confused why TLT is a hedge. If interest rates go down, TLT goes up, and so does the stock market, right? So if it moves in the same direction, it's a hedge. It's a hedge not for that reason. Interest rates could go down, and theoretically, the stock market could still be going down. You could have a situation where tariffs are coming in, the international markets are slowing, and again, we've already seen some of that. I don't know what Italy looks like. Yeah, let's look at Italy. We looked at Mexico yesterday for industrial production. Let's look at Italy now. How's Italy doing as an economy? Oh, it's falling off a cliff for industrial production. It's lower than the levels of April 2023. It's near levels at COVID. So Italy right now has industrial production that are heading into COVID levels, the worst since COVID. Mexico has industrial production levels that are looking worse too, and looking like what was happening before COVID happened. They plummeted and then they went back up because China started investing tons of money in them. So we're seeing economically around the world, we're seeing a slowing. And let's look at the inflation rate in India, guys. What does India look like? What's in India's industrial production look like? Theirs is probably better than most. It's not super strong. It looks like it's rolling over. It's down to 3.2% for their industrial production. Let's look at their inflation rate. Their inflation rate looks like it's rolling over for the first time in a while. And again, there's a slowing in the Indian economy too. And they don't want to see that. And tariffs would actually probably just slow that down even more. Again, tariffs are not a mechanism that's going to create a bunch of inflation, but it could sure slow down sales in a number of parts of the world where the tariffs exist. So you could see a world where interest rates are dropping because we're repaying our debts, and where the U.S. market is seeing some kind of growth, but the world is starting to slow and inflation is starting to slow and rates are coming down, but maybe the stock market isn't performing really well, especially with international companies. So I think TLT can be a hedge in that circumstance, and that's why I'm looking to add to that position today. And again, when you're looking at something that historically, and let me just show this again because sometimes it's helpful to look back to understand, you can see here that it is not obscene for over a 2-year period for TLT to go up 49%, 40%, and this is like in a year right here. In the 2-year range, it was up like 49%, so 49, 49. Here's a 36% move. I didn't even count what this is. And then over here, we had a 60% move after the pandemic that was within a 2-year time frame. So I'm saying it's not crazy for us to get to this other volume shelf and go up 35% in an environment where yields are coming down, TLT is going up, and people are going, God, inflation isn't a concern anymore, and I don't know about the stock market. So I'm going to be safe. I'm going to lock in some 10, 20, and 30-year bonds because I want to ensure that I have that income going forward. Because I want to be safe, at least with a portion of my portfolio. Let's jump 10% back into bonds because Doge is kicking ass, and I think Trump is doing the right things in the economy. So let's get into that, and then we'll put some money into the stock market, but let's keep some of it in cash for now because I'm a little scared about what's going on in the world. So in that scenario, I think that it's a hedge, and I think it can outperform when the rest of the market won't. And really, if you think that Trump is going to do good things to help the U.S. economy, and you think Doge is going to be able to reduce the federal deficit a lot while we're experiencing growth, then I think that this is a great asymmetric bet where, again, 35%, multiply that times 11, you're looking at almost 400% return, which is a 5x. So I like that. It's probably 4.7x, but then there's still the potential of they do a really good job because the things I'm invested in are 100 strikes. So just getting to here and not even here, just getting to here, right? This is my strike. It's very conservative in nature. And then the other one is 110 where we have this trough, right? So these are going to be, I think, very accomplishable over the next 2 years. But there's potential that this thing can go up to the .618. And if it does that from where we are right now, this is a 64% increase. So you're looking at over 700% in gains, or an 8x your money if we get up to this golden retracement zone. And that's a 64% return. But again, in less than 2 years, well less than 2 years, we did a 60% move. So again, there's just potential, and maybe it stops here and you just exit here at a 50% move. It wouldn't be obscene, right? 48, 49, 36. We've got these time frames where it can move very heavy to the upside. And I think this is an historic time where the government is getting their shit in order for the first time in a very, very long time since the Bill Clinton era when Republicans helped with that process. That's my thesis. From Scott King, from a percentage perspective, everything seems to be minimal impact, less than 2% on this news. It actually is. Isn't that interesting? So real quickly, let's look. We do have action. I mean, it is creating action, but I think people are waiting for tariffs. And again, those could cause more pain. I'm not going to lie. They could cause more pain. But again, today, Tesla up 1.1%, and the rest of these like down 1%. Not crazy red right now. Not crazy red right now. There's some stuff going on, but it's not crazy red. So that is interesting to see. We'll see whether or not that process continues after the market opens or whether people are panicking. Maybe people have endured a lot of the pain already. All right. Scott King said, from a percentage perspective, everything seems to be minimal impact. Oh, that was you. Only minutes from the knee-jerk response in my portfolio, at least, following your lead, bro. And again, think for yourself, guys, if what I'm saying makes sense, if you see this rising, broadening wedge or this megaphone pattern over here, and you think it's probably more likely that this thing's going to roll over than go up. If you see this divergence over here that really started at least on this is a 3-month time frame. To be fair, we should probably go to monthly. These are very long time frames. But that started over here really in September of 2022, this bearish divergence to the downside, and you think that's going to play out, and you think that it's going to do that before 2027, then I think the TLT play is a good one, right? We need to refinance $8 to $9 trillion by the third quarter-ish of this year. Yes, you're right. That's a lot of money. But again, if we can get the long end of the curve down, if we can have like a defense type bond like Michael Howell was talking about, or if Trump's hand is to force country or the European Union and places like that to have to buy our bonds if they want to avoid massive tariffs, then again, Stephen Moran's entire thing that he was talking about, and if you look over in the corner, guys, you'll still see that we're holding that line of support on Bitcoin. His whole thesis was apply wicked amounts of tariffs around the world. You'll probably be able to increase revenue to offset lower taxes and a pro-growth policy. And also at the same time, you'll be able to force the hand of these countries to ensure that they're buying our bonds in order to be able to to bring the long end of the curve down. I think that's the playbook, and I think that's what's going to happen. Steak and eggs, Jesse, am I understanding things correctly when I assume that both TLT and MSTR Bitcoin can rise simultaneously? It isn't one or the other. Yeah, it could. Again, we might not have a situation. We might have a situation where the stock market is booming because people aren't paying attention to a slowdown in the rest of the world. They're seeing a lot of growth here. And so you're seeing, Mar-a-Lago Accord. You're seeing a lot of growth in the United States, and you're seeing us cutting costs, and you're seeing people spending increasing, and you're seeing that things are looking good in a lot of different ways. And so you say, hey, maybe I don't give a shit about what's going on in the rest of the world. Let's keep investing in America, even though it's at record high levels. Let's keep doing that because it's by far the cleanest shirt in the dirty laundry. China is not a place people should be invested in right now. Again, when BYD has record amounts of unsold inventory in foreign countries all around the world, and when they aren't paying suppliers for up to 9 months, that is the Evergrande formula, guys. That is what happened to Evergrande before they fucking collapsed. And now, all of a sudden, they have this special thing that's a differing technology depending upon the type of vehicle that you're buying. In the cheap ones, it's going to be vision. In the higher ones, it's going to be a LiDAR. And then there's a premium version. It makes absolutely no sense to have a vision-based system that doesn't use all the same hardware across the board. It's insane. Like, you could have a thing like Tesla where you have some that are older that don't meet requirements anymore. But to have like different systems, 3 different systems across their car line is insane, and it doesn't make any sense at all. And again, there's a lot of problems in China. So people are throwing their money in China, and they think that's the place to be right now, and they're gonna hurt. They're gonna hurt a lot in the future. And again, so the 10-year is up 2% today. I might just pile like 50 grand into TLT at open about 30 minutes from now. Jonas, hey Jesse, I'd love to hear your thoughts on SMCI. It's flying. 2026 revenue fundamentals look strong. The only thing holding it back is the potential delisting. I mean, that would be a big fucking thing. A delisting would be a pretty big thing. So I don't know, man. I exited all that stuff. It might be the wrong decision because I'm leaning into the things I have higher confidence in. And right now, that's gonna be Tesla, that's gonna be Bitcoin, that's gonna be TLT, that's gonna be ARKG, that's gonna be those things. And again, I'm willing to wait. I'm willing to wait years to be right on things. Years. You don't know how much pain I felt with my calls at the depth of the bear in 2019 as I leaned into it. But I made shit tons of money later. There was a lot of pain and suffering in 2022, guys. A lot of pain and suffering. Let's look at MicroStrategy. Let's look at I was buying leaps for MicroStrategy in 2022, okay? So let's look at this here. Where was MicroStrategy then versus today? I was buying leaps in this zone right here, okay? This wasn't fun. It was very far from the top. We were sitting at 131, and I was buying leaps at 15. So 90% downside, 90%. And I was leaning into the pain because I knew it was the right time to do that. And the same kind of thing with Tesla. Again, at 150, 100, I won't show you again. There are times where if you know you're right, if you can see that there's a very, very high probability that you're right, and again, if you think that you have a hedge, like I think I have with TLT, because I think that Doge is going to... I'm not betting against Elon Musk. That's literally all it is. I'm betting that Elon Musk has the ability to be able to cut government spending by a massive level. And even Jeremy Siegel said, like, hey, it's impressive. Let's look at the dollar real quick. The dollar is in a megaphone pattern, which means it's probably likely going to break down. We have oil today falling because people are worried about levels of inflation after getting crushed over here. So oil goes down and we start to see things like we were seeing over here in the transportation sector for trueflation. And this is what we want, guys. You got to realize since September, we saw gasoline and fuels and motor oil and all this stuff just going up. Now we're starting to see it roll over. Now we're starting to see that. And some of this stuff, like this is still happening. This will come up more in February's data. Gold took a dump, did it? Let's see here. Yeah, it's dropping too. Everything's dropping. You're just kind of seeing a pull from liquidity from people that aren't investing right now. In markets, they're going risk off in some way. And look over here. Look at Palantir. Palantir. I gotta say, guys, like again, this thing could keep going up, but it's at $256 billion right now. So it's over $250 billion for this company, a company that over here was nothing at $6, and that I told everybody to buy the dip over here. In May of 2023, actually, it was probably, it was right around there. It was right around there at $7. And now it's at 110. I don't think this is something that people will be throwing a lot of money into. Maybe it will. Maybe it continues to go up. I don't know. I don't know anymore. Because when you have parabola, you just don't necessarily know when it's going to end. But I think it will end. So I don't know what happens in the next couple of days, weeks, months. It could be more painful. And if you're in leaps, you're going to experience more of that. But I do know that Bitcoin is holding the fucking line. And that TLT today, what was that at? Let me go back here. What was TLT at? TLT is down 1.42%. I'm buying the fucking dip. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy it because I don't think that there's a lot more downside in TLT. And if for some reason I find out that there is downside, I'm probably going to buy that too in whatever means I can. While still maintaining my core conviction bets. Something will rise first, guys. Is MicroStrategy ever moving? I don't know. Probably not, right? It's probably never going anywhere. Just operate off the thesis that it's never going to do anything and you'll be fine. It's down 1%. It had a rough day yesterday. Could even be backtesting over here. It already did that, though. So... I don't know. Again, we've had a consolidation period. This one was really painful, guys. You think the one we're in right now was painful. This one over here, I mean, how many days? March to 2024 didn't actually break out until October. That was a painful consolidation period. But I'll say this. We're kind of in a parabola zone right now. Let me see if I can find... I haven't done this in so long. It's not array. No, it's not array. Extended. No. Let me see if I can find what I'm looking for. I want to find... curve. There we go. Let me just show this here. Probably draw it from here. It's kind of hard to draw. Let me see. I got my mid curve here. I probably have to do it up here. Let me see if I can draw this out. Yeah, that's probably better. We're hitting this point. Let's see. Can I tighten this up? It doesn't really work unless I change the mid. Whatever. I'm not going to fuck with that. I'll do it later. But I still think we're in a parabolic move here, and I think Bitcoin's going to want to go up. And I think Bitcoin, again, let me just pull it up. Let me see. This might fuck up my chart in the bottom, but we'll just look at it anyway. I think that this means something. I think that Bitcoin has touched this line. I keep saying this. It keeps touching it and touching it and touching it and touching it. Look at this. This day. Launched off of it this day. This one. All these days it keeps touching it and it doesn't break through. What happens, there's this rule where the more you touch something, the more likely you're to go through it. But when you have like a descending downward trend and you've had tons of fucking time to break through it and you've been testing it nonstop really since the beginning of this month, and you're almost halfway through the month and you've just been testing this and you haven't been able to break underneath of it, eventually, unless we get down to here, the end of February, and this thing's still grinding along here, then there's a danger that we flush down, right? But I don't know. I still think the direction's up. I think it's up. Everything fundamentally tells me that it's probably going to be up. But this is one of those times, man. This is one of those times where it's going to be fun. It's going to be real fun. And by that, I mean it might not be. Pursuit of code, maybe TLT makes a new low first. Maybe. I mean, you can always say that about anything. I'm still buying. Paul Stewart, I got out of Palantir yesterday and got Tesla Leaps -10 on the day yesterday. Oh, you bought it when it was down 10%? But I believe it's a good decision. Yeah, we'll see. Up 0.55% today. I mean, there could be more pain. Did you do it all? Did you shift over the whole thing, or did you start dialing out and then dialing into this? I usually dial out and in. I usually don't move the whole position at once, but sometimes I do. Unlock real estate. Can we look at AMD, bro? Sure. Let's see if AMD is holding any lines of support. And then I need to get to news, guys. There's a lot of news. We still have a bunch to go over. So this is AMD's previous line. But again, let's just assume that we're establishing a new channel. We'll call this the low. It still looks great, honestly. We broke down through this previous trend that started in December of 2023 a year ago. And now we're down here, but it looks like we're trying to bounce. I don't know enough about the fundamentals on whether or not that's going to happen. Whether or not the chip sector is going to maintain. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But you are looking at a chip stock that has growth and it still has a decent amount of revenue, and it's down 52% from its high. It might be 51. It's hard to tell here. It's probably close either way. But from its high back in March of 2024. So this thing is it's like a shit coin. It's just been fucked. So from a technical standpoint, I mean, this looks like it's more likely to test up to 120 than it is to roll over. But you never know. It depends on what the market does. If we get some massive tariff news and people are worried about inflation at the same time they're worried about tariffs, and they're using tariffs as an excuse for inflation and that narrative, then who knows? I mean, we could have short-term pain. You're waiting at 85. 85 for what? Oh, for TLT. All right, good luck. Hope you get it. Stevie G, is it correct to think TLT as a tech, crypto, future industry stocks go down, then people sell back to US and TLT goes up? I think it's correct to think that if people think that the US government is on a sustainable path and that we are the cleanest shirt in the dirty laundry, and they're not sure how stocks are going to perform, and they've had their money sitting in money markets, but they're worried that they could lose another 50 bips this year if the Fed cuts another 2 rate cuts, that they might take an opportunity to buy treasuries on the long end of the curve that lock them into an income that is good, and that's a positive income. And again, what is that income right now? Let's just look. That income right now would get you 4.64%. 4.64% that you would be able to get off of something that's had bearish divergence since October of 2022. So there's going to be a limited window for people to be able to make money off of this. Can we take a look at RG? Sure. I don't think it's changed much. It's in a consolidation range that it's been in it for a very long time. But we can look. Oh, I don't know if that's the right chart. Oh, no, it works. All right. So you can see, actually, look at the RSI down here. You can see this trend, right? So let's just look at this. So since October of 2023, that's the trend. Even though we've been flat, there's a bullish divergence trying to pull it higher. And right now we're sitting here at 25.66. And I don't know. I might split the money today between TLT. I don't know if Tesla's going to drop enough. We'll see. I might add to Tesla. It's probably, I worry about Tesla having further downside. Because again, as I said yesterday, this thing could go to 250, 260 if it wants to close gaps. And like I said this morning, so I don't know that I want to add more to it right now. It's probably TLT. It's probably TLT. And then if I end up making money off of TLT or something else outperforms the rest, then I'll look to dial into other things that are my favorite things. But I do have a decent amount of ARKG. I think right now it's probably like 360 or 370 across all my portfolios. So TLT is probably my thing today, honestly. Jacob says, I'm emotionless. Feels good to have wins on your back. That's the way I look at it too, man. I have less fear when I believe I have things behind me that are going to push me higher. And I think Bitcoin is consolidated for a very long time. And I think TLT is consolidated for a very long time. ARKG is consolidated for a very long time. Tesla is not consolidated for a long time, but boy, has it dropped fast. But again, so there's things like we're investing in great things, in great companies that have the ability to go a lot higher. And I feel really good about my 2027. Nick said, I'm leaning towards the 100 or 110 for TLT on January 2027. I don't know yet. I might even pick a different one. I might diversify into a higher target that can give me a more asymmetric return. Because I have that level of conviction in the bet. But again, I do like either the 100 or the 110s, because if we look over here, those are very attainable ranges, right? Like the 100 ones, you're literally saying it's going to go up 15%, right? You're saying it's going to go up 15% over a course of 2 years. The other one is that you think it's going to go up 25% over the course of 2 years. Yeah, I think it can go lower than the 280s even. I mean, if you look at Tesla, guys, let's zoom out and look at the big view, okay? So this is the monthly. I'll probably go to weekly. If you look here at the weekly view, we haven't back tested this number at all. We could totally back test to the 200. That's a 250 level. Now that's rising, and the 50's up here at the 260 level, and then the golden retracement zone, kind of the area that it should stop, is in 270. I think it's very possible that we can drop into the 270s to 250s range for a short period of time just to backtest this and turn the previous resistance that started on this line in 2021, 3 years ago, turning it into support, right? And I think it's even more than 3 years. Let me look here real quick. Date range. Boom. This is a level from 1,200 days ago. 1,200 days ago is the level that we're looking at here from that resistance line. And now we have the opportunity to backtest it before going higher. And look at all the volume. Look at how little the volume is. Look at all the volume we built up here at the 250 range. Look at all the volume we built up at the 200 range. Look at all the volume we have at the 180 range. These are such strong levels of support. So can we go lower? Yes, we can totally go lower. We're down almost 33% from where we were just weeks ago. And maybe we can go down to this level where we're down a total of 48. How much lower is that than where we are right now? That is a 22% drop. So you got to be okay with a 22% drop, potentially 40% drop with your leaps, maybe 35. Thoughts on CleanSpark? I hope the July or June, what is it, June or July? I hope the July calls pay out. That's my thought. I hope I make any money off of CleanSpark because I put $570,000 into it, and it would be nice to make something back. But that's my most dangerous position when it comes to miners is that one. Yeah, we can look at iron and other stuff. I don't care. We can do that. I don't think I have any appointments today. I will be having to travel because I'm getting some work done on my Model Y on Thursday, but I'll still be doing the market open. But I don't have anything really going on, so we can focus on some stuff. So we're still up 1,124% from the 2022 low on iron. And honestly, I think it's got a really strong consolidation point here. We got, again, this is like, if you look here, guys, this is pretty strong. I don't think you could call it a cup and handle. We did get a rejection here at this level. But if we just draw this out, I mean, to me, this is a descending, tightening wedge. Even if you go up here, it's still a tightening wedge. It's not like a channel. And I think that this thing can go higher. I think it can go a lot higher. I mean, maybe you call it, I don't know. Either way, it's a tightening wedge. And look at the spring that we had from the 924 level over a period of a week up here to 1275. So I think there's so much strength in here right now, guys, in the minor area. I think there's going to be a lot of resilience. I think there's going to be a lot of resilience. And I think that especially the Bitcoin holders are going to end up doing really good. I echo Steve G's questions. Would you not sell some, maybe half of your Tesla Leaps now to buy back in lower? Is it going to go lower, Stevie? Do you have a guarantee for me? Do you have a guarantee that it's going to go lower? Yes, you could do that. But what I do is I sell the stock and then I buy the Leaps, right? And I can't remember if I sold all my stock yesterday. Yeah, I did. I sold all my stock yesterday to buy the Leaps. But I still have about $100,000 sitting around that I didn't buy the Leaps with. So what I would do is buy the Leaps. And then eventually, if I reach a point where I just can't do anymore, I'll just sit on my hands. That's the way things work. Or I'll look around and say, like, should I rob Peter to pay Paul? And I'll see if there's anything like that I want to do. Are you doing a Hood call today? Nah, I'll probably let Ahmed do it. Hood's his baby. He's friends with all those guys, so he can do the Hood call. All right, let me see. I do want to get back to, before we get down to all the stock stuff, I do want to get back to a lot of other related news that I want to go through. Let me see here real quick. So let's go to Trump. So there's so much happening right now in the geopolitical world. If you guys haven't been paying attention, we need to talk about it. I know you don't like China, but Ali has been killing it. Yeah, I mean, if you want to chase, have fun. Have fun. Good luck to it. Yeah, let's look at Alibaba. Let's look at Alibaba just for 1 second. You guys want to look at Alibaba? Let's do it. Let's look at Alibaba. Why not, right? Baba's killing it in China, guys. China's such a great investment. So here's what I would argue. I would argue that China is sitting at a level it couldn't get through here, couldn't get through here, couldn't get through here, couldn't get through here, couldn't get through here. And you're looking at an economy that is failing, that has 360% debt to GDP. It might be even worse than that. We're not sure. Because they're a communist fucking state that harvests organs from living human beings and that only lets you see things that are good and that pays people in the West to come to China and say that it's good. You had Scott Bessent a week ago say that China is possibly already in a depression. But if you want to buy BABA at the level it hasn't been able to get past since 2022, have at it. Buy all of it. Put everything you have into it and see how well it treats you. I'm not a day trader. And I don't invest in communism, and I invest in things that are going to make me rich in the future. And it's how I got rich. It's kind of what I do. So you guys do whatever you want to do. I won't keep you from doing it. Trump. Ukrainian President Zelensky assessed the possibility of U.S. President Trump withdrawing support for Ukraine. He said, Europe cannot guarantee Ukraine's security without the U.S. We will trade one piece of land for another. If Trump succeeds in bringing Ukraine and Russia to the negotiating table, Kiev will propose a direct land exchange with Russia. Ukrainian territories will be offered in exchange for land captured in Russia's Kursk region. There is no priority in the land swap, but Ukraine wants all its territory back. Yeah, we'll see how well that works out. There will be negotiations. And again, he said it right up here. Here's Zelensky's hand. Europe cannot guarantee Ukraine's security without the U.S. You know what Trump said in the Oval Office yesterday? He said, and maybe Ukraine is Russian in the future. We don't know. So, again, we're going to support Western countries, but there will have to be some give and take here, and we'll get it from both sides. Financial Juice said Trump lined up to attend the Saudi-backed conference in Miami this month, according to sources. Representatives for FII conference had no immediate comment. I think he's going to be there. Mario says Secretary of Defense Hegseth arrives at NATO headquarters. Defense Secretary Hegseth arrived in Brussels for high-stakes NATO summit as the UK takes over leading the Ukraine Defense Contact Group. With Trump reshaping U.S. foreign policy, Washington is signaling a harder line on NATO's role. Our commitment is clear. NATO must be stronger, more lethal force, not a diplomatic club. Time for allies to meet the moment. This is our stake. This is what we're doing. Torsten said, President Trump, if all the hostages aren't returned by Saturday at 12, I would say cancel it and all bets are off and let hell break out. This is in regard to Gaza. Over here, Aaron says, can someone help me understand, given Hamas didn't just murder and kidnap Israelis on October 7th, they killed and took Americans, Canadians, Brits, etc. How in the hell has it taken nearly 500 days for one leader from all those powerful nations to actually show even a modicum of backbone and stand up to this evil? Anyone? It's because it's Trump and he does not give a fuck. Wesley Hunt said Biden left him to rot for years. Trump brought him home in weeks. Mark Fogel was abandoned in Russia for years while Biden cut deals for woke celebrities. Trump made a promise to his 95-year-old mother and delivered. No excuses, just action. 10 Americans brought home in 3 weeks. This is also... Trump is playing his hand, okay? He's playing his hand with Russia, and Russia is working with him to show that we have a good relationship and we're willing to work with you. Nick Timoros, NikiLeaks, said Trump advisors and allies are looking at whether it's possible to put the FDIC inside the Treasury or combining it with the OCC. The administration wants at least de facto consolidation of bank regulators, even if the agencies remain separate entities. So again, this is what I'm looking for. This is it, baby. So this is about Tesla, but I want you guys to hear this. And this is my fucking take. My calls can go down 90% I do not give two fucking shits right now. And this is why. Entrepreneur and Tesla investor Larry Goldberg, Doge will save America. This is more important than my Tesla shares. I'm getting a lot of people telling me that Elon should stop his political work because it's impacting the Tesla share price. I'm letting them all know I don't give a fuck about the impact on the share price. I'm ad-libbing there. If the Trump administration and Doge does not fix the deficit, my Tesla shares and everyone's U.S. stock and bonds will be worthless. Fucking worthless. We are, as a country, in an existential crisis. Even Elon said this yesterday in the Oval Office with Trump sitting next to him. Our 237-year-old Constitution is under enormous strain, threatened by two dynamically reinforcing but grave threats: profligate spending and the bureaucratic state that encourages it. In my judgment, these are more serious challenges to our nation than was even the Civil War. I 100% agree with you, Larry. You are right. And here's what I love. I love how many people like this post. He had a separate one. Let me show you. This is just that one. Let's look at Larry's. This is brilliant. Right here. 39,000 likes and almost 10 million views. I fucking love this. I love this. This shows how much support the community is willing to give for what needs to be done. Also, while I'm on a soapbox, I said race does not matter. Martin Luther King Jr. would be appalled to see that after all this time, people are being judged by their color of their skin and not their merit. And this is in regard to this dude right here, who talks about how black and white Americans need to unite. Now, he does it on a very religious stance, and I'm not super religious, but I 100% agree with him that we need to unite. The race card needs to fucking go away. This is people that want to save this country and want to see it prosper, or the ones that want to see it fail and that fucking hate being here. And I don't know which side you're on. I know which one I'm on. And the latest across mainstream media is constitutional crisis, which is funny. And this This is funny too. This lady right here, this outspoken bitch ass Muslim lady. I don't know. She kind of reminds me of what's her name, Ilan. They arrested her in Boston for a kickback scheme. She was paying a relative and gave her a huge bonus so that she could enrich herself. And the reason why I bring this up is because there's a lot of this going on in Washington. And yesterday, it was called out by Doge, and we're going to be looking at Doge in a second. Cameron Winklevoss said, paging Elizabeth Warren, Doge is looking at federal employees who had high net worths despite low pay to figure out whether they're a Nancy Pelosi investor or whether or not they're corrupt as fuck and have been taking money under the table. Let's clean these motherfuckers out. This is a very important one right here. If you guys didn't watch this with the King of Jordan, I put president because I keep forgetting that there's kings in the world. But the King of Jordan was talking with Donald Trump, and he made it clear that the Palestinian people, Trump made it clear that the Palestinian people will be removed from Gaza and other parts of the world and go to other parts of the world. We will control the Gaza Strip. Palestinians are gone. They're gone. And Jordan has, I think somebody said in here, one of the people that follows me, and here's another one here too, guys. And here, Douglas Murray quotes Bill Clinton talking, and this is very much paraphrasing, but saying that there's no good alternatives and that these people don't deserve another opportunity because he gave them everything in the deal and the PLA walked away from it. He's like, there's no helping these people. They don't want peace. And Ori said, by the way, he's the King of Jordan. Thank you for that, Ori. And he said 80% of Jordan are Palestinians. So these guys, so the King of Jordan said that he would take at least 2,000 children that have medical issues, and then we'll see what happens from there. And again, there's this Arab summit that's going to be happening, and we're going to go over all that. Let's keep rolling down. This is a good video to watch, though. In here, Trump essentially says, we're not paying anything for the Gaza Strip. It's ours. And and I think what they'll do is they'll also put a military base in there because you'd want a military base. Ding, 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 ding. Hey, you know what? I can ding, ding, ding up here now, guys.
To stake in Twitter.
Magically, it just started working.
It was a distraction from him running Tesla.
So we'll look at the ding, ding, ding. We'll see where we're at.
Between BYD
and then we'll go from there.
and Tesla year to date, going in opposite directions. There was some Wards numbers yesterday as well on sales,
this is pre-market,
down 13% in North America in January, so we're going to track all
Tesla's
of that.
still barely up.
Like a 30% drawdown. Looks like it's going to try to bounce this morning.
I might have to buy some TLT in a second.
It's just an amazing stock the way it runs in streaks, and the streaks seem to be dictated by the degree to which investors are captivated by just sort of the long-term vision, or they want to sort of reset the focus on the here and now. Earnings estimates for this year, a year ago were 433, now they're 293. So it just keeps chasing the estimates down, and we're declining to 100 times current year earnings.
That's why I don't buy
We need a flat tax, Silas.
that it's about that he's not focusing on Tesla or that he's in the Oval Office, because he's been focused on that for a while during the entire run-up, too. I mean, the fundamentals are changing. And the announcement yesterday about BYD.
Cosmopolitan is a thing. That's still a thing. I didn't know that. All right. So, yeah. So place your bets on Baba on whether or not it tops out right here. And maybe it keeps going. I don't know. This is China's last grasp for Western money. So you guys fill their coffers. Give them as much as you can. Again, it's really important that you guys invest in things that are based out of the Cayman Islands because you can't actually own any of their stocks. And if we go to war, it'll be a great opportunity for you to lose everything that you put into China. But, whatever. Just ignore me. What do I know? Become exit liquidity. But again, what do I know? It's just BYD hasn't paid vendors in 9 fucking months. But obviously, it's the best thing in the world, and you should put all your money into it. Our new Treasury Secretary said that they're probably in a depression. But put all your money into it, guys. Why the fuck not? All right, anyway, let's get out of pre-market. Go to performance for the day. All right, still looks pretty red. Tesla is barely green. Let's hop over here. We're actually going to do this because it updates a little quicker than the heat map. The heat map does not do as good of a job. Chips, Micron down. Ouch. Render down. Bonk down. Trump down. Not Trump. Just bought more Trump. Fuck. Injective, Say, Sol, AVAX, Optimism, all the shit coins are just getting plummeted today, guys. The shitcoin route is unbelievable, incredibly painful. I want to say that it's over, but it might not be. If you look at the month here, outside of a few winners, you can tell like ENA down 48%, Floki down 41%, Virtual down 48%, Optimism down 38%. In a month, the altcoin market has been decimated. This really makes for great lows, in my opinion. Makes for really good lows. Tesla's up 1.8%. Is that real? Are we bouncing on the Tessies? Tessies for the Ressies? Nice. I'm going to see what TLT is doing real quick here. One of my leaps was at 334. Man. I missed and you sold PayPal. What was your reasoning? It's just after the earnings call, I was just like, fuck it. This company is shit. They're a trash company. They've had a year to do something right, and all they've done is lower their forecast on revenues. And the honey scandal. And I'm just tired of defending it. I don't think it's going to pay out, and I'd much rather be in TLT, where I'm betting on the government's ability to be able to repay their debts in the future. So that was the difference, right? That's the difference for me. Let me see here real quick. I'm just going to see what TLT is doing. I'm going to be very patient on my buys today, I think. I'm just going to put a couple out there. And, yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay with them not getting hit. I'm okay with that. I'm just going to put another one out here. 1 second. Get some feelers going. Is that a 10%? Let's see. Maybe one of these. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with the market today. I don't know if we're going to go down a lot or not. It seems like the market is like, maybe it's okay. That's what it kind of seems like to me. Like the market's like, I don't know. I don't think the sky's falling. So I'm going to be patient with my buys. And if I don't end up spending all the money, I don't end up spending all the money. That's okay. That's okay. What about Iron here? I was saying Iron, I think, is a really good company, and I think it's going to bounce well. Do they have earnings today? I don't remember off the top of my head. Let's jump over here. This isn't always right on earnings. Yeah, Iron Energy tonight. So Hut, Robinhood, and Iron Energy tonight. So that'll be interesting. I don't know if I'll do an Iron Energy call. If nobody else is, I might. I might, actually. I might do earnings tonight for Iron. I don't care about Hood because, first off, I've sold most of my Hood. And secondly, I think it's going to do good. I think it's a very bounceable stock right now. And again, Amit's going to cover it. He knows the company really well. So I think I'd just be redundant. But Iron might be interesting. I want to hear one of those conference calls. I've never listened to an Iron call. Victor Hernandez, who the F is buying Palantir? There will always, I think there are people that chase, and it's up 0.62% today. Yeah, there's people that'll chase. There's people that will always buy. But eventually the sellers will be more than the buyers. Would love on Iron earnings. Okay, well, maybe I'll do it. CJ, market's been there, so much pain. It's now becoming resilient to all news. Yeah, exactly. Maybe we're becoming resilient or not. We'll find out soon enough. Let's look at Tesla. Tesla only up 0.74%. So again, this could still roll over. I think you got to be prepared for a rollover. TLT calls are holding strong versus the underlying. It's not down 10x the underlying. Yeah. And honestly, it's an 11x mover. So you're right. So far, the calls are holding all right. A 10x would be down like 13%, and they're not doing that yet. And I haven't been able to get any yet. So we'll see. I don't know. I might move my numbers a little bit here to try and pick up some. I don't know. Still would love to pick up just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Maybe I'll switch things up. Yeah, TLT calls are strong. That might have to add to TMF. Jesse Bro, apart from June 2026 330 calls, which other calls are you focused on? I'm not focused on any, but I might be in the future. I might actually look at January 2027 too. I'm starting to feel like we're in the 90s, like mid 90s or early 80s. I'm starting to feel like that. So I might place bets that are further out. and that have higher targets. We'll see. I have a little spread over the miners. Bitfarms, would it be better to consolidate the best ones? I like diversity, man. I think it's better to be diverse. I like the fact that you're in 4 different ones. I think that reduces your individual company risk, right? So I don't know. And what are the best ones? That's so subjective. You can measure them in 20 different ways. Martin, Jessamy, approximately it's been 2 months that stocks have been squeezed. I have MicroStrategy call for April strike 590 now. Yeah, you're fucked probably. I mean, maybe that can happen. That could still happen. You got tax season in front of you. I don't love the April date. I think a June, July would have been something safer. But I think those are going to be hard. I mean, there's a reason why you've lost 90% of it, right? You've lost 90% of it because it's probably not going to happen, and you only have 10% left. So it kind of feels like let the 10% ride, in my opinion, as a non-financial advisor and somebody who does not know your circumstances. Totalist, Tesla will be back to 360 very soon. I'd like to believe that. We'll see. It's up 2.28%. That ain't bad. Kumar, morning, Jesse. Are we still confident that Tesla will touch 600 by December? I think by early next year, whether it's Q1 or Q2, I think 600 to 900 will at least be touched. I'm very confident about that. But again, I don't want to get near those targets. I'd rather be deep in the money. Maybe some, let's look at other targets. What's another target? And again, look at the calls too. But I think it's pretty easy to make like a $500 call. A $500 call is pretty easy. Maybe that's something that's a good number. But you'd have to look at the options tree and see what it looks like. BTC is coming back. Again, I don't even think it left. Let's just pull this back up again and put it back in the corner. So I was saying this earlier. BTC actually looks great. And let me see. Am I in the corner? I might have to adjust this a little bit. It looks great. It's still following that line of support, guys, which is really great. And let me see. Oh, I don't have it right now, so let me bring it back. Let me just drop it in here again. There you go. So this is a great looking chart, in my opinion. Let me just adjust it a little bit because we're not seeing the dollars. There we go. Okay. So again, just look at all that. This thing's been testing this downward trend line really for almost a month, and it can't break through. And it's spent almost all its time there. So eventually you get to a point where it's going to want to roll back up. I think the market's pretty resilient, considering we had a high inflation readout. I think the market's pretty resilient. MicroStrategy green, Jesse. I also like Cypher a lot. Are we talking miners that do AI? I like Iron. I like Iron because I think it's probably the best HPC play in my opinion. And I've wanted some HPC exposure, so I've got that. And then I like Mara because their Bitcoin holdings are the largest. I like CleanSpark for the cleanest play, right? Literally tons of clean energy, and they're just a Bitcoin miner, and they're heavily focused on it, and they've got a really low cost per Bitcoin mined in the 30,000 range. So they're all operating off of different playbooks, but I like them for different reasons, and I like diversification. MicroStrategy's green? Is it really? Nope. That must have just been for a second. But I mean, it's not a bad number, guys. It's not a bad number. Not a bad number at all. I don't know. There's been so much pain in the markets. I think if things don't immediately fall apart for some reason, and we're so used to bad news, just remember this. January was positive, and that increases our odds with like almost a 90% success rate, 89% I think it is, of us having an average of an 18% return for the year. And I talked to the Wolf Financial guys and that, who was the other guy? The other guy, what was his name? It was Evan, Stock Market News. Yeah, this guy. I talked to these guys yesterday. I met with them at 1:00. It's pretty interesting. There's some young dudes, 26 years old, between this guy and Wolf. It was interesting. I might do something with them for some kind of investing thing or something. They do a lot of spaces. They were pretty cool dudes. They got almost 1 million followers between the two of them. I told them I won't take money for anything. So they won't pay me to do anything. I made that very clear early on that I'm making money off of subs. I don't do advertising. and I don't take money for anything else. They didn't really offer it directly either, though. So just to be fair, but they're good dudes. I liked them. 26 years old, both of them. Fucking young as shit. Those little babies. Tautilus. By the way, check Siri. Tons of insiders. Berkshire Hathaway turnaround setup. What is Siri? What is Siri? What is Siri? Let's see here. I said that 3 times. Let's look. Sirius XM? Yeah, I'm not interested. I'm not interested at all in tons of debt, no cash. They got free cash flow, but this is a dying industry that could easily be replaced by like Starlink. There is no, I don't know. Who signed up for that T-Mobile thing? I'm super excited by that, by the way. I don't care about Siri at all. Just to be clear. If I'm not clear enough right now, I do not give a shit about Siri. Tesla, guys. Tesla kicking ass today in a sea of red. Fuck yeah. Is there news? Did I miss some news? Stevie G, can you do the fundamental look with visual stocks at MSGE? I'll try and do more. Give me a second, though. So I'm going to get some coffee. So I want to do 2 things. 2 things real quick. One, I want to go back and I want to listen to Joe Lonsdale while I'm getting coffee and taking a piss. So let's find Joey, because he's in here somewhere. He's hiding. Let me see here. Joey Lonsdale. Where's the full interview? Don't give me this half bullshit. Is this the full one? I'm really bullish. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this is an 8-minute video. It's highlighted Palantir co-founder Joe Lonsdale. I'm really bullish on what Elon Musk is doing. So I'm gonna hit the bathroom super quick, guys, and I'll be right back. Okay. But watch this, and I'll be right back in a second with my coffee and nice and drained. So 1 second. Oh, need some sound.
Elon Musk defended Doge.
What meaning does democracy actually have? If the people cannot vote and have their will be decided by their elected representatives in the form of the president and the Senate and the House, then we don't live in a democracy. We live in a bureaucracy. So it's incredibly important that we close that feedback loop, we fix that feedback loop, and that the public's elected representatives, the president, the House, and the Senate, decide what happens, as opposed to a large, unelected bureaucracy.
Joining us right now is Joe Lonsdale, 8VC founding partner, co-founder of Palantir. There's about 100 things that we want to talk about, Joe, including Doge, including OpenAI, and yes, carried interest, given our conversation on X over the weekend about that. But let me start on the OpenAI Musk front, if you will, because I know that you're a backer of his proposal, or maybe we should call it a hostile bid for OpenAI, which is a not-for-profit. Tell us how it came about. What's your involvement in it? I think we're all trying to understand what's really going on there.
Good morning, Andrew. Well, listen, it's been a really fun 20 days, right? I think this administration, with Elon's help and with President Trump in charge, is winning more than we've ever seen before in 30 years. We've done what we haven't. We couldn't do this much in the last few generations. And for me, I just think this is such a cool time for our civilization. I'm really bullish on what Elon's doing. And listen, I know both Elon and Sam, and Elon really helped create OpenAI. What Sam's done with it's amazing. If Elon wants to do something, I'm gonna support him, though.
Just from a legal perspective, I spent the past 48 hours trying to look through what's happening here. It feels like, just so we're on the same page, that the bid itself, dead on arrival insofar as the board of OpenAI, which is a not-for-profit, given its current structure at least, has actually zero obligation, fiduciary duty, if you will, to return to the investors who've invested in the subsidiary. So just because there's a bid doesn't mean that it has to be taken or even taken seriously, because the only duty they have is to the, quote, mission of the not-for-profit charter, which then raises all sorts of questions about, what the bid is really all about. A lot of speculation that really what it is an effort to try to create a floor or a valuation metric, which would make it tougher, frankly, for OpenAI to become a for-profit, because some of the AGs could get involved and start to look at, what's called fair value, and they might look at the bid as a potential metric to sort of set against. Do you feel like, I mean, can you just speak to what's happening here? Because I think everybody who's looking at it just on its face says it can't really be what it is.
Well, listen, this is obviously a sensitive legal situation, Andrew, and I'm not the spokesperson for what's going on, so I want to be really careful what I say. What I will tell you is that, you know, Elon really helped create OpenAI, helped create the mission at the very beginning, probably wouldn't exist without him. And, you know, I think the mission was that it's supposed to be open, and it's not, but yet it has done amazing things for the world. And listen, if Elon were to be able to buy it, I think it'd be a great thing for the world. Some people disagree, but he's making a serious bid. And when my friend, who I think is, you know, right now the most important person in the world, wants to do something, I gotta support him.
Hell yeah, bro.
Let's talk about Doge. I think there's a lot of people that are super excited about trying to get to the bottom of and find all sorts of things in the government that maybe we shouldn't be spending our money on. That's the one side of it, and then obviously you've seen some of the Treasury secretaries and others, you know, write public letters in the New York Times and elsewhere, frustrated and concerned about what they would say is the transparency of the process, not about the good news of the transparency of what we may learn, but.
All right. Freedom Option said, did you hear about me? Kevin's PP is no more. He shut it down to focus on real estate, and good move. Yeah, I mean, his PP was getting so small and underperforming, and when you can't do anything with your PP, you probably need to put it away.
How this is all being done.
Sorry, that's just a little extra bonus for you guys.
Done. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, what I think is that, like I said, in 20 days we've done what we couldn't do in multiple generations. We have this permanent bureaucracy, Andrew, and it's just shocking what they're uncovering. Like, I knew there was waste. I'm one of the only guys who've been speaking out very boldly the last 10 years about how badly this needs to be cut, how badly we need to get into these things. There's even more waste than even I thought, and I was probably on the most extreme side of people saying this is ridiculous and broken, right? So, I mean, it's just amazing what they're uncovering everywhere they go here. I think they are being quite transparent about the things they're finding. I think a lot more will continue.
Elon said, guys, we're literally publishing everything we're doing online. So if anybody thinks that I'm not doing anything right and that it's problematic, they can call it out, because we're having weekly meetings and we're literally publishing this stuff. So if he's like, there's plenty of people that don't like me, they can always say something.
Continue to come out, but I mean, what we know.
I got one that closed. I got a TLT 100 that closed at $4.60. It looks like. Yeah, so one of them closed.
Not being transparent is the mainstream media right now is not being transparent about how ludicrous these things are that they're finding, because it's afraid to offend its readers and its listeners on the left overall. I mean, we're living in different realities in our country right now, because one side's reporting, you know, hundreds of crazy things. There's all these scams around the world. There's all this money clearly being wasted. There's all this grift being stolen. There's money going to, frankly, to media as well, as you've seen, which is really crazy. And the other side is just not even reporting on the things that are being found. So, you know, in general, I think this is amazing what they're doing. I think they should keep doing it really boldly. The executive order yesterday, 4 employees out for every employee in, they're going to make it more efficient. It's very clear these employees are not working efficiently. I mean, this is awesome stuff. And what's happening, you know, Elon made a great point. I was involved as a kid at PayPal a little bit. Whenever you'd turn off fraud or grift, or change something, the people who would scream the most were the fraudsters, and so the noise is mostly now coming from.
I think I'm gonna. I hope you will think I'm coming to this from a place. I know you're gonna say mainstream media, but I hope you'll. I think that a lot of the grift, terrible. And I'm very supportive of the idea of trying to expose all of the grift. I think we've been reporting on it quite regularly, actually. I think that the question. And I think we should continue to support trying to find as much grift as possible. At the same time, I would think for the purposes of exposing that grift and making it all work as a country, you want the process to be as credible as possible. So to the extent that there are people who say to themselves, no.
Yeah, here's the thing. You can't go the bureaucratic way through Congress. We already know that. And Trump and Elon have the executive power to do what they're doing, and they're going to continue to do it. And Democrats can see it from a distance, but if it becomes some bureaucratic thing where it's like, oh, hey, this Democrat thinks that we should keep this, and this is why. No, we're the ones in power now. We're the ones that are going to make the decisions. Joe Biden did the same kind of thing. He ignored judges, openly ignored judges, and went along with student loan, forgiving student loan debt. So he did things in complete objection of what the court systems were talking about, and eventually he lost. Trump's just going to keep going. Doge is going to keep going. None of this fucking matters. Dworkin is a fucking idiot.
Not about whether they're worried about what the fraud is or not, but to say, are these things going, is this data being used in some way we don't know? Is it going into an AI system that we don't know about? Are the people who are finding the grift government employees? Have they been vetted? I mean, isn't it
the goal, so about the publishing online macro, the goal is to actually put the treasury on a blockchain where it's public. There'd probably be some things that are still like secure information and you can't literally list what they're for. But that's going to be like a very small single-digit percentage. The vast majority of things everybody will be able to see and be able to talk about in a public fucking forum. That's transparency. The left can't meet that. They can't match it because they've been doing cloak and dagger shit for a while. And the right has too. There's plenty of rhinos that are part of this bullshit. So, but all the cloak and dagger is going away. It doesn't matter what your political affiliation with it is. It's gone.
Couldn't you walk and chew gum at the same time? Meaning, get all of the grift, expose all of it in the best way possible, and have the process be so credible that everybody says, "Oh my goodness."
Never.
Never.
You could never have everyone say that.
Yeah, never.
Joe's right. They're going to be angry. But listen, Andrew, I mean, what we had to do here is that there's been layers of bureaucracy. Like I have mentors in the Reagan administration who came in looking for these things, and those people were not technical. And so when they went to the bureaucracy and they asked questions, there's so many ways of obscuring and blocking and deterring. And so what Elon did is he got root access, and he went to the tech systems themselves. No one has done this in ever. Like, no president ever has had tech people around him, and they went to the systems and they started finding things like, oh my goodness. And these people who work for the agencies try to confront them and say, no, you can't look at the systems. You can't. You're getting around all of our ability to block all this stuff. We thought you'd never actually get to see any of this, and they're freaking out because they're looking. And so it's very transparent. They went to the systems. They actually saw the payments. And the payments were going out to crazy shit. There were payments to people with same social security numbers. There are payments to people with no social security numbers to 100 billion. There's it's everywhere. There's payments to Internews Network, which is training media all around the world how to have a certain point of view. That's a very left point of view. There are payments to protesters around the world. There's like all this stuff that's crazy, and they're being very transparent. Yes, we went to the data and we found it. It's only been 20 days. Like, give them a chance. They're gonna put all this out.
Joe.
They already are putting a lot out. I mean, I think this is amazing, but people want to slow them down. They want to slow them down from stopping their grift. Is really the biggest question here.
Great job, dude. That was wonderful. I fucking
bipartisan
love it.
legislation has been introduced by Democrats.
Let me kill that. That was great. That was a wonderful job on his part, man. Just killed it. We already know the inflation data. It was hotter than expected. We'll see whether or not some of that ends up dropping down. We'll see if Kash Patel gets confirmed. I think he needs to be because we got the FBI leaking. Tom Homan was saying that we got the FBI leaking what ICE operations were doing. They did that same thing in Colorado when they were going after that dangerous gang, Trende Aragua or whatever it is. And that's bullshit. These people need to be fired from their job. There's discussion that Trump is going to pardon Edward Snowden. That's fucking crazy, and I love it. Oh, wait, no, wait, maybe not. Let's see. There are no sources currently reporting that such a pardon will indeed be granted. As of the last report, February 4th, Trump was not ready to discuss such. Okay, so this might be bullshit. This might be bullshit right here. So we'll leave that alone for now and see whether or not that ends up coming back. This is why I love X right here. Joe, tell them Palantir's behind Doge. Yeah, the Palantir people would love to hear that. Mario. Trump, I am reinstating my environmental orders on water standards. I am hereby instructing Secretary Lee Zeldin to immediately go back to my environmental orders, which were terminated by crooked Joe Biden. I love how he always throws in a jab. On water standards and flow pertaining to sinks, showers, toilets, washing machines, dishwashers, etc. So all this stuff is going away, and people can just use what they want to use. Again, this is what the Biden administration did. This was Obama. This was Trump. This is Biden in regard to illegal immigration. Inadmissible aliens granted parole. So, again, the illegal immigration was purposeful, and it's been happening all across the West, and it was going to destroy us. Elon Musk, which law firms are pushing these anti-democratic cases to impede the will of the people? Again, just tons of that stuff. This is great. This is funny as shit. I got to play this. You guys got to hear this. This is leaving the Republican Party versus leaving the Democratic Party. I can tell you, I've definitely had this experience. I've done both, right? I've done both over time. I've went back and forth multiple times. And so I can tell you this is 100% spot on. Let's play it.
I'm leaving the Republican Party. Okay. May I ask why? I don't agree with the policies anymore, and I'm leaning left. Okay. Well, although we can agree to disagree, I really respect you as a friend. I've enjoyed our friendship, and if you ever want to talk about politics, we can, but we don't have to.
That was literally my response to the friends that no longer want to be friends anymore. Is that, hey, my political affiliations have changed, but like, yeah. And then their response was, well, some people drift apart. Oh, okay. All right. Fuck you. Now let's listen to the Democratic side.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Of course. I'm leaving the Democratic Party. Oh, so you're racist, homophobic, a bigot, and a sexist. What? No, I'm still me. It's just I don't align with your values anymore, and I find myself leaning more conservative.
I've got 100
and
and 110.
I never thought I'd say that. Well, we can disagree on politics, but we can't disagree on human values and human rights. I'm still me, the person you've known since 3rd grade, and I really have enjoyed our friendship. Well, last time I checked, I wasn't friends with Nazis.
That is so true. That is so true. That's the loving left's way of responding. Charlie Kirk said Democrats have had all their weapons taken from them. No one trusts the media. Lawfare is over. Slush funds are ending. Their activists are exhausted. The American people love Trump. They are a political party in total exile and chaos. Keep charging. I agree. This is Canada. Canada, people might not know this, but Canada is a major fentanyl producer. The largest ever fentanyl bust in Mexico was in Sonora in December of 2024. It had 20 million doses of fentanyl. The largest fentanyl bust in Canada was in Falkland, British Columbia, and there were 95 million doses of fentanyl. So if you ever wonder why Trump is leaning on Canada, this might be part of it. Yeah, I think that's it for this. Let's move on. Oh, this is a good one, though. It says Democrats are attacking Elon because without their kleptocracy, they'd starve. I trust the man living like a Spartan to handle my money instead of socialist Democrats who are ironically the most materialistic and obsessed with lavish parties. And I think this is so true. This is so true. This is very clear truth. All right, so real quickly, let's jump around. So let's real quickly go to U.S. economy. So Carlos said, I moved and all my new friends are Democrats and I'm completely an Elon Trump fanboy. So I'm kind of just holding in. Yeah, dude, here's the thing. Hopefully they'll change over time and you'll still be able to maintain those friendships. But evidently when you've been friends with people for well over a decade and you switch to Trump, they tell you that all you care about is money. And that real people are getting hurt, which is ironic because I care about people a lot more than I do money. But I don't know, whatever. Just in, Doge to begin auditing the Department of Labor. This will include the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Awesome. Senator, have we had a soft landing? I showed this yesterday, I think. Let's skip that. CPI data, we already know how that came out. Fed playing politics, likely. Okay, we've talked about these, so we're good here. Not a lot of new data there. Let's go to Doge. I think a lot of this stuff I've been dumping in there. Jesse, do you know that Trump never drank alcohol ever? Yeah, I know he said that. I find that hard to believe that he's never done it. But hey, man, some people are that way. Stephen Mark Ryan said, why legacy media is mad at Doge for finding loads of waste and fraud? 1, the legacy media didn't discover it themselves. They're not even looking. 2, Doge is sharing discoveries directly with the public, so legacy media can't break the news. True. Some of them are in on the grift. I mean, a lot of them. 6,000 or 5,000 journalists that were getting paid by USAID. Mila said, bombshell, Judge Engelmeyer's wife linked to NGO funded by USAID, which we just blocked. So remember the dipshit judge who was trying to reverse what was happening with USAID, one of the first ones? Evidently, his wife is a part of the NGO. Says, you won't believe this twist. Judge Paul Engelmeyer, who just blocked a U.S. aid reform, is married to Emily Mandelstam, who works for the New York Association for New Americans, an NGO that's swimming in U.S. aid cash. Isn't it a coincidence that the judge's decision directly benefits his wife's employer, or is there something more fishy going on here? Share this to expose the truth. I love that. Again, I mean, Biden did. They set the precedent. So up here it says Representative Chip Roy says that the president should ignore the rulings of the federal judges on Doge and just proceed ahead and use Andrew Jackson's playbook. And then this person said, just posted Joe Biden's post saying the Supreme Court tried to block me from relieving student debt, but they didn't stop me. I've relieved student debt for over $5 million, and I'm going to keep going. He's basically saying that he's going to ignore the courts. We already looked at that one. Speaker Mike Johnson said he met with Elon Musk and more bombshell findings are coming. So let's just listen to this real quick. It's 1 minute and 30 seconds.
I met with Elon yesterday about this to get an update. And to me, it's very exciting what they're able to do, because what Elon and the Doge effort is doing right now is what Congress has been unable to do in recent years, because the agencies have hidden some of this from us. You know, there's a lot of oversight activity that goes on around here all the time, you all know, but when duly elected representatives of the people request information to find all of these abuses and it's not turned over to us, what it takes is an actual audit of the systems and the files themselves that are often hidden from Congress. That's what you're seeing right now, and that's why this is so exciting. They're uncovering things that we have known intuitively have been there, but we couldn't prove it. Now the proof is being provided, and no one can argue the counter to that. So stay tuned. There's a lot more to come, and I think the courts should take a step back and allow these processes to play out. What we're doing is good and right for the American people. What Doge is doing is making sure that your taxpayer dollars, all of us, are spent in the way that they're intended to be spent, and that they're in America's interest, and they're financially responsible with the precious taxpayers' money.
And to literally keep our economy from failing because we're indebted. This is great. Anybody who missed this post yesterday, I put what the actual fuck. The Department of Government Efficiency was talking about federal employees' retirements. They're processed using paper by hand in old limestone mine in Pennsylvania. 700 plus mine workers operate 230 feet underground to process 10,000 applications per month, which are stored in manila envelopes and cardboard boxes. The retirement process can take multiple months. The reason why they're limited to 10,000 applications for retirement a month is because the elevator only goes up and down so fast, and that's like close to max speed. If the elevator breaks, nobody can retire. This is our government right now, guys. People think that Elon can't make the government more efficient. This is our fucking government right now. So I don't know what to tell you, but if you don't think government can be made more efficient by one of the most brilliant, successful people ever in a history of the planet, let alone America, then I don't know. I feel bad for you, son, because I'm not one. Again, this is the same. Here's the black and white photo. This can't be the reality of the greatest nation in the world. This should be in the history books. This actually was created in 1954. This location was used for this. This is the world we live in, guys. Like, what the fuck is going on right now? This is Rep. Jim Jordan talking for 2 minutes
Mr. Chairman,
about what's going on with those. Let's listen.
Mr. Chairman, instead of stopping the stupid spending, Democrats attack the guy who's exposing it. I think the taxpayers of this country would just as soon we stop spending their money on dumb things. Like what was the example from USAID?
Yeah, that mine is badass, but is there a reason why we have people moving paper documents and taking a fucking month to help somebody retire because of paper processing? Is that the world we're going to live in? It's bullshit. That mine should be where Stargate is and where people are jumping to a different fucking galaxy. It shouldn't be where we store retirement paperwork for federal employees. It's fucking insane.
Some transgender comic in Ireland spending money on Bert and Ernie and Big Bird on Baghdad TV. I think they would prefer we not do that. Elon Musk is doing exposing in the federal government exactly what he exposed at Twitter when he purchased Twitter. What did we find out there? Big government was pressuring big tech to censor Americans. You don't have to take my word for it. We had the Twitter files. Oh, and we also had someone else in big tech send a letter to this committee and tell us exactly what they were doing. Mark Zuckerberg said the Biden administration was pressuring us to censor. We did it. We're sorry. We won't do it again.
Oh, I'm sorry. This wasn't about Doge. This is just about personal freedom. This is the problem that we're dealing with right now. The Democrats can't hide from this. They can't hide from the censorship arm. That stuff is still happening all across Europe. It's a holy hell mess that's changing all around the world in real time. Jesse, have you seen the Sesame Street skit making fun of Baghdad? No, but that sounds hilarious. Right here, guys. Matt said, don't ever forget that FEMA kicked entire families out of their hotels and into the ice and snow in western North Carolina while giving $59 million to let illegal immigrants live in luxury hotels in New York City. And they lied to us about this for months. The people voted for major government reform, and that's what the people are going to get, the White House. Charlie Kirk, breaking, Doge has cut $900 million to the Department of Education. This is just the start, $1 billion in the Department of Education. People don't realize they got their hands at everything right now. How can I short the Democratic Party? No shit. Elon Musk on people over 150. Listen to this. Listen to this stuff.
You know, there's crazy things like we just cursory examination of Social Security, and we've got people in there that are 150 years old. Now, do you know anyone who's 150? I don't. Okay. They should be on the Guinness Book of World Records. They're missing out.
Look at Trump just smiling.
They're probably dead. It's my guess. Or they should be very famous. One of the two.
And here we got Elon. If people can't vote and they have their will decided by their elected representatives in the form of the president and the Senate and the House, they don't live in a democracy. We live in a bureaucracy. I love little X there. He hung out with him for 30 minutes, pulling on Elon's hair and sticking his fingers in his ears. It's hard. It's going to be hard for liberals or people that are down the center on the left to hate Elon Musk and what he's doing with what he's talking about. I mean, listen to this. How do you argue? You can use like little quips here and there being like, there's not enough government or not enough transparency, but it's all bullshit. These guys are talking way more than Biden did. People are going to learn the truth. And when they see like little X playing around on Elon Musk while he's being very profound and telling the truth, eventually they're just going to get tired of believing lies.
So if there's not a good feedback loop.
And this is what I mean by him being a shield. Trump just gets to sit here and smile and interject every once in a while. Where is our strategic Bitcoin reserve? Everybody forgot about it. Nobody forgot about it. Everybody's working towards that right now. They just had the committee about digital assets talking yesterday. They're working very very aggressively on a federal strategic reserve. But if they're going to do it the right way so that it can't go the way of U.S. aid, they're going to do it through an act of Congress. I've said that for a very long time. It wasn't a day one thing. A day one thing would have made it to where if another administration came in that didn't like the idea of a Bitcoin strategic reserve, they could just do away with it. But if they do it as an act of Congress, it won't be easy to get rid of. So that's why they want to do it that way. And we have 27 states out of 50 that are trying to pass strategic Bitcoin reserves right now. I think that's plenty.
From the people to the government. And if you have rule of the bureaucrat, if the bureaucracy is in charge, and then what meaning does democracy actually have?
Oh, sorry. I shouldn't have hit that. Young Jay said, Jesse, I currently go to school right now. I'm just curious if the Department of Education has any impact on me as a student. I don't know if you're talking about college. If you're talking about college, no, not really. Here's the thing. The only thing that the Department of Education is good for right now is to try and tell our kids what they should be doing sexually and whether they're 5, 6 years old and they should be chopping off their dick. That's pretty much the Department of Education nowadays, is to spread hate and make people not love their country. It does nothing in regard to the funding. All that stuff would go back to the states. Pay is controlled by the states. It would have no impact outside of not having Big Brother tell you what you should and shouldn't believe and what your kids should and shouldn't believe. So That's the only downside is if you were liberal and you were trying to tell everybody that they need to be a certain way and encourage people to cut off their tits and chop off their penises, there's going to be less of that.
If there's not a good feedback loop from the people to the government, and if you have rule of the bureaucrat, if the bureaucracy is in charge, I agree,
Anthony.
And then what meaning does democracy actually have? If the people cannot vote and have their will be decided by their elected representatives in the form of the president and the Senate and the House, then we don't live in a democracy, we live in a bureaucracy. So it's incredibly important that we close that feedback loop, we fix that feedback loop, and that the public's elected representatives, the president, the House, and the Senate, decide what happens, as opposed to a large unelected bureaucracy. So
so the more we get rid of the bureaucracy, the healthier our country is going to be. And it's really hard to say that Trump is turning into a dictator when he's reducing the size of government. It just doesn't work that way. Also, the Department of Government Efficiency here, guys, under this one. So this is people waiting for propane in North Carolina so that they don't freeze to death while they live in fucking tents and try and survive, getting no help from the federal government whatsoever. This is the world that we were headed down, and I'll take the new one that we're in right now. Elon, the people voted for major government reform. Lots of times people don't get what they voted for, but in this, the democracy is all about. Yeah, they're giving it to us. Let's see here. We were employing over 1% of Jordan's entire workforce. Get this. That's going to take a chunk out of their GDP. It says Trump's suspension of U.S. aid has already caused loss of 35,000 jobs in Jordan. And yet the Jordan King is still taking 2,000 sick kids and sucking up to Trump. Elon Musk announces an investigation into federal employees with high net worth. We talked about that one. I think this is good. We're pretty caught up. There's probably newer stuff that's come out today that I haven't seen. We already did that. Let's go to Bitcoin. And then we'll look at some charts. Texas mines 52% of America's new Bitcoin every day. That's badass. Look at this. Texas and Georgia account for like almost all of it, man. That's just nuts. Very cool stat. I said, yes, Mirage Mogul is spot on. Luca was talking about how funding rates have dropped for Bitcoin. And so there's no money to be made, guys, on the downside. I shouldn't say that. So everybody, all these long bets, leveraged long bets for the upside potential for Bitcoin are gone. And when that happens historically, right down here, it says aggregated open interest, coins, candles, and then aggregated funding rate. So you can see these things are rolling over as open interest grows. There's the average funding rate percentage of open interest weighted is down. So the funding rate is important. People aren't making big bets on going long right now with Bitcoin, and that's what's going to help establish a bottom, and that's what's going to help it go up. Cointelegraph said crypto leaders, this is yesterday, crypto leaders urge Congress to set clear regulations, warn the U.S. risks falling behind as global competitors advance with crypto-friendly policies. So again, there was a meeting yesterday. Bitcoin Archive, Goldman Sachs just disclosed owning $1.58 billion in Bitcoin through BlackRock and Fidelity ETFs. This was me telling you guys, this is a strong amount of support, and if we keep maintaining this level of support, we're going to break out higher. We'll see if we can do it. I think we're going to. This is the House Committee on Financial Services that I was talking about, a golden age of digital assets charting a path forward. So this is the group that was talking yesterday. If you want to watch it, you certainly can. Here's Fed Chair Powell, struck by the number of Bitcoin companies that were debanked. So Powell yesterday had to admit that there was a lot of debanking happening with people that were trying to work with crypto or work with Bitcoin.
Do you commit to disciplining or removing any staff that are found to have engaged in debanking activity, furthering Operation Choke Point 2.0, or other misconduct?
I can't make an open-ended commitment to remove anybody, but I will tell you that I am struck, and my colleagues and I are struck by the growing number of cases of what appears to be debanking, and we're determined to take a fresh look at that.
Take a fresh look. So non-committal. Fed Chair Powell says the Fed will never create a CBDC. That's essentially what he said. And he's been saying that for a while, so I won't post that. He also said something, and I don't even know if I posted this yesterday. He said something about them not doing quantitative easing until interest rates are at zero. So I think that's his way of saying, if we do anything, we'll remove quantitative tightening, and we won't ease until we get the interest rates down to zero, which I think is very low likelihood. So what he's telling you is they're not likely to do QE, where they start buying. And they shouldn't. They've already got too many equities on their balance sheet right now anyway. This was yesterday. Publicly traded Cooler buys an additional $10 million worth of Bitcoin. They now hold over 610. This is just happening all the time, all around the world. Thailand eyes Bitcoin for tourism. This is 2 days ago. Former PM, Prime Minister, says that that Phuket, they're going to turn Phuket into a Bitcoin sandbox, allowing foreigners to visitors to spend Bitcoin on real estate and tourism without cash out restrictions. Again, North Carolina getting on the Bitcoin strategic reserve train. Florida to buy up to 1.5 billion in Bitcoin. There's just tons of stuff like this where they're making these proposals. This is Tom Lee saying BTC has become a $2 trillion asset. Never in financial history have we reached one of those, and it's come back.
I think that it's probably better to just observe a few things. One is Bitcoin has now been around for 15 years, and there has not been a Bitcoin 2.0. So there's no crypto 2.0. This is Bitcoin is the surviving chain. And Bitcoin has become a $2 trillion asset, which never in history, financial history, has anything reached $2 trillion and then disappeared. So we're not, it's a different argument if it was $100 billion.
Okay.
The third is the U.S. government is reiterated its commitment to make Bitcoin a strategic reserve asset. That's not bad for the price of Bitcoin. So if someone is watching this and said, well, they don't understand Bitcoin, so they decide not to own it, it's a catastrophic way to look at market. I think that...
Yeah, I agree on all those points. He's brilliant. Titan of crypto, Bitcoin, 116,000 coming next. And so all he's showing here is that we're in this consolidation. Now, don't get me wrong. This could end up breaking down, and it could end up looking more like this, right? Where the line goes this way, and maybe we get down and test 90,000 again. That could happen. I don't think it will. If you look in the bottom corner, we're still holding support, but that could happen. But even then, it would still be bullish. It would still be a bull flag. So this is just not the time to sell out of these things, in my opinion, at all. That's it for Bitcoin. Let's move on. We could probably start looking at more stocks here in a second, guys. I do want to hop into the geopolitical stuff real quick, though. Oh, no, that was from yesterday. Let me refresh and see if there's anything new. I know I put more in here, but sometimes the bookmarks are weird. Let me see. Unreal life. No, it doesn't look like there's, or it's like completely out of order. EU funneled $132 million to media ahead of elections. A massive EU slush fund spent $132 million to quietly hand it out to media outlets ahead of the European elections with zero transparency on who got paid and why. Rape in Britain has quadrupled in 10 years. The UK government refuses to disclose the perpetrators' nationalities. This is a crisis. Women and girls are far less safe in Europe as direct consequence of mass immigration. 10 times more likely to get raped. That's insane. Speaking of insane, Elon says this is insane. Our trial for liking a post. This is the guy who literally he could face 3 years in prison because he liked a post. He's the leader of the European Conservatives in the European Parliament, vice president of the PIS party. So this is what they're doing. This is political persecution, if you haven't heard of it. Not a good thing. And then we also have Romania. We've got breaking. Klaus Iohannis resigns as president of Romania after massive pressure from the people who recognize Kellen as their rightful president. We demand the resumption of the second round of the presidential elections. So they tried to steal this election. The woke left tried to steal this election, and they're not going to. Breaking, Palestinian President Mohammed Abbas abolishes the notorious pay-for-slay program. So if you guys didn't know this, they paid families, if they slaughtered Jews, they would give the family money. And if their loved one was in prison, in a Jewish prison, because they'd done horrible atrocities, they would give them money. So there was an incentive to hurt Jewish people and to get paid. That has been removed. That incentive is gone. They know Trump is playing, isn't fucking around, and they don't want to find out. Are you going to listen to Powell? Is he talking right now? Let's go back over here. Powell. He's talking at 9. Oh, he is talking. I haven't looked at it. but we can fast forward into it. Let me see. Jerome Powell live today. Yeah, how long is this going to be? Let's see. 1 second.
This year, we're conducting our second periodic review of our monetary policy strategy, tools, and communications.
All right, let's hold up real quick. I'm going to get rid of this chat because it's just trash. Yeah, we can listen to this. I'm cool with that. Let me go back, though.
On goals and monetary.
Can I go back?
Policy strategy, which articulates the committee's approach to monetary policy.
I'm going to see if there's a different one we can listen to. I don't like it when I can't go back.
Policy is well positioned to deal with the risks.
Okay, here we go.
And stable prices for the American people. Since last
No, he's already been talking. I want to go back. I want to hear.
Our goals over the past 2 years.
Evaluate the effectiveness
there we go.
Of the Fed's
Let's speed him up a little bit, and I'll turn up the volume.
American. The creation of the new monetary policy, Treasury Market Resilience, and Economic Prosperity Task Force will afford us the opportunity to dive deeper into this topic. Chairman Powell, thank you for being here. There are real issues that deserve our attention, and I hope today will be productive. I look forward to hearing your testimony on the state of the economy, where we're at, and where we're headed. Yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman yields back. The chair recognizes Mr. Vargas, the ranking member of the Monetary Policy, Treasury Market Resilience, and Economic Prosperity Task Force, for 1 minute.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, ranking member. And thank you, Chairman Powell, both for your years of public service and for appearing before our committee today. As a ranking member of the newly formed Monetary Policy, Treasury Market Resilience, and Economic Prosperity Task Force, I look forward to working with Chairman Lucas and the rest of my colleagues to address these important issues. The research is clear. Independent central banks perform better in carrying out their mandates than politically motivated central banks. The independence of the Federal Reserve is crucial to achievement of this dual mandate goals to maintain both maximum employment and stable prices. And although this dual mandate has been criticized by some, it continues to serve Americans well. It has not prevented the Fed from making substantial progress on driving down inflation, all the while avoiding a recession, which many saw as inevitable. I look forward to your testimony, Chairman Powell, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. I'd like to turn to the gentleman from Michigan and yield to him for a point of personal privilege. Mr. Heisinger.
Thank you, Chairman Hill. And as we all know, all good things must come to an end. And I want to take a minute to recognize someone who is leaving the committee, but has been an integral part of the oversight work Republicans have done over the last 5 years. Although Nicole Vo is all of 29 years old, something that we tease her about on a fairly regular basis, I quickly realized at time with myself.
Shut the fuck up.
Chairman Powell, you'll be recognized for 5 minutes to give an oral presentation of your testimony. Without objection, your written statement will be made part of the record. You're now recognized for 5 minutes.
Chairman Hill, Ranking Member Waters, and other members of the committee, I appreciate the opportunity to present the Federal Reserve's semi-annual monetary policy report. The Federal Reserve remains squarely focused on achieving our dual mandate goals of maximum employment and price stability for the benefit of the American people. The economy is strong overall and has made significant progress toward our goals over the past 2 years. Labor market conditions have cooled from their formerly overheated state and remain solid. Inflation has moved much closer to our 2% longer run goal, though it remains somewhat elevated. We are attentive to the risks on both sides of our mandate. I will review the current economic situation before turning to monetary policy. Recent indicators suggest that economic activity has continued to expand at a solid pace. GDP rose 2.5% in 2000.
Mr. Chairman, can we ask you to pull your mic a little closer, please? Thank you so much.
Sure. Recent indicators suggest that economic activity has continued to expand at a solid pace. GDP rose 2.5% in 2024, bolstered by resilient consumer spending. Investment in equipment and intangibles appears to have declined in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, the budget cuts.
For the year overall. Following weakness in the middle of last year, activity in the housing sector seems to have stabilized. In the labor market, conditions remain solid and appear to have stabilized.
Boy, look at Miss Presley. She's interesting. Look at that face.
Per month over the past 4 months. Following earlier increases, the unemployment
rate
has been
Uncle
steady
Fester.
since the middle of last year, and at 4% in January, remains low. Nominal wage growth has eased over the past year, and the jobs-to-workers gap has narrowed. Overall, a wide set of indicators suggests that conditions in the labor market are broadly in balance. The labor market is not a source of significant inflationary pressures. The strong labor market conditions in recent years have helped narrow long-standing disparities in employment and earnings across demographic groups. Inflation has eased significantly over the past 2 years, but remains somewhat elevated relative to our 2% longer-run goal. Total PCE prices rose 2.6% over the 12 months ending in December.
They're like, uh-oh, the camera's on us. We got to, don't talk.
Core PCE prices rose 2.8%. Longer-term inflation expectations appear to remain well anchored, as reflected in a broad range of surveys of households, businesses, and forecasters, as well as measures from financial markets. Our monetary policy actions are guided by our dual mandate to promote maximum employment and stable prices for the American people. Since last September, the FOMC lowered the policy rate by a full percentage.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened.
After having maintained the target range for the federal funds rate at 5.25% to 5.5% for 14 months. That recalibration of our policy stance was appropriate in light of progress on inflation and the cooling in the labor market. Meanwhile, we've continued to reduce our securities holdings. With our policy stance now significantly less restrictive than it had been and the economy remaining strong, we do not need to be in a hurry to adjust our policy stance. We know that reducing policy restraint too fast or too much could hinder progress on inflation. At the same time, reducing policy restraint too slowly or too little could unduly weaken economic activity and employment.
Don't want that.
In considering the extent and timing of additional adjustments to the target range for the federal funds rate, the FOMC will assess incoming data, the evolving outlook, and the balance of risks. As the economy evolves, we will adjust our policy stance in a manner that best promotes our maximum employment and price stability goals. If the economy remains strong and inflation does not continue to move sustainably toward 2%, we can maintain policy restraint for longer. If the labor market were to weaken unexpectedly, or if inflation were to fall more quickly than anticipated, we can ease policy accordingly. We are attentive to the risks.
Oh, it's 1.25.
Mandate and policy is well positioned to deal with the risks and uncertainties that we face. This
I
year,
struggle
we're conducting
to listen to things
second
that are
periodic
less than
review of our
2x.
monetary policy strategy, tools, and communications, the framework used to pursue our congressionally assigned goals. The focus of this review is on the FOMC's statement on longer-run goals and monetary policy strategy, which articulates the committee's approach to monetary policy, and on the committee's policy communications tools. The committee's 2% longer-run inflation goal will be retained and will not be a focus of the review. Our review will include outreach and public events involving a wide range of parties, including Fed Listens events around the country and a research conference in May. We will take on board the lessons of the last 5 years and adapt our approach where appropriate to best serve the American people to whom we are accountable.
So far, he's saying a lot of
to wrap up the
nothing.
review by late summer. Let me conclude by emphasizing that at the Fed, we'll do everything we can to achieve the dual mandate goals Congress set for monetary policy. We remain committed to supporting maximum employment, bringing inflation sustainably to our 2% goal, and keeping longer-term inflation expectations well anchored. Our success in delivering on these goals matters to all Americans. We understand that our actions affect communities, families, and businesses across the country. Everything we do is in service to our public mission. Thank you, and I look forward to our questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The chairman yields back. I want to recognize the ranking member of the full committee, Mrs. Waters from California, for a 4-minute opening statement.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Good morning, everyone.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Welcome, Chair Powell, to...
I don't think I can do it.
Our country is on the precipice of an economic disaster, unlike anything we've seen in recent memory. While Trump promised lower prices for working-class families, we're seeing the exact opposite. In fact, grocery prices are rising.
He's been in power for
According to the
3
Labor
fucking
Department,
weeks, you
eggs
dumb
are up
bitch.
40%. More
All right, I can't do it, guys. I can't do it right now. I can't listen to Maxine Waters talk. I can't listen to all these senators bloviate for fucking an hour or two. I got to get to the gym. So I think if there's any highlights, I'm sure we'll see about it on X. I just don't. Yeah, I can't do the Maxine. I can't do any of this stuff. I'll lose my fucking mind. So I think we're done for today. I'll try and do. We'll see if we can do it tomorrow. Maybe we can do more tickers too. I tried to get through a few today, but hopefully we can do more of that tomorrow. And then today's Wednesday, right? And then Thursday I'll be traveling for most of the day because I've got to do that trip for the car, for my wife's car. And then we're getting her new one, hopefully, in like 3 weeks here. So it should be fun. But anyway, thank you for the people who stuck around, and I appreciate the viewership today. What did we end up with? We got to, 1,332 people. Really appreciate that. If you haven't hit the like, if you could do so on the way out, that would be greatly appreciated. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we will talk to you later. And remember, we're doing great things. It might take a week, 2 months, a couple months, maybe a quarter, but I think it's going to be really beneficial to our economy, and especially I think our bond market's going to do well. I think we're invested in great companies and great investments with Bitcoin and everything else. So let's give them time to play out. That's my thought process. I love you guys.